So 1 minute 12.9. Unbelievable.
A week's a long time in Formula One. The Schumachers are all brotherly cuddles and giggles again.
I expected it to be tight, but to beat Michael here after the test we have seen from them was very difficult.
It is good for him to have his first pole position on his birthday. People always tend to think now, yeah, that was a kind of present I made to him, but this will be stupid because he made it because he was faster than me.
And all Schumacher front row for the French Grand Prix. Ralph's first pole. We're at Manicourt. It is round 10 of F1 2001. Home race for the experienced and very popular Jean Alesi. He's welcomed us to his hometown of Avignon to explain what drives him on at the age of 37. Hello there, race day at Manicourt. Good afternoon to you. Beautiful day as well. Big crowd inside here. Temperature 26 degrees and rising. Tony Jardine with me as always. Hiya, Tony. Special guest, Ross Brawn, Technical Director at Ferrari. Thanks very much for popping in. I know it's a very busy time for you. Your man, Michael Schumacher, what, 9 out of the last 13 he's won. Do you fancy him again this afternoon?
Yes, of course. I mean, people keep asking me when do I think Michael's reached his peak. But when you see performances like Nürburgring, there's still a lot to come. So I certainly haven't seen the downside yet, so there's every chance today. A
lot to come. If we check the standings, you can see Michael Schumacher, well, he's 14-1 on now to retain his title, 24 ahead of David Coulthard. Coulthard had a magical drive here last year. Pole sitter Ralph Schumacher, 26 yesterday. He could overtake Barrichello today. Montoya is very confident, and Häkkönen's gone quickest in this morning's warm-up. Tony, if we look back at qualifying, Ralph Schumacher, first pole, his 76th session, and he broke records along the way.
Yeah, dear. One of the things Ross was saying when the test was here before Canada is that watch out for Michelin, they'll be very strong. But this package is getting stronger and stronger. And on this very smooth but yet slippery surface, they drop the cars right down as low as they can to get more downforce, I think. But those Michelin tyres working really well, the BMW engine as well. 13.6 on his first run, but more was to come, and we thought that was really, really quick. And there you go, 12.9 he popped in as well. Didn't think anyone could get close, but obviously Michael got a bit closer later on as well. First pole for Ralphie on his birthday.
He did get a bit closer, didn't he, Ross? He was going for pole number 40, Michael, and he missed it, what, 100th of a second he missed it by, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a frustrating qualifying, and I'm sure everyone has the same story, but the second but last run, Jarno truly got mixed up with him, and I came on the radio at the wrong time when he was in the middle of a corner. Our telemetry system was giving me some bad information, so I kind of helped spoil his last but one lap, and then the third one he just didn't quite get it together. But yeah, 100th, it was very close.
What did you say to him on the radio then when you came in at the wrong time?
Well, it's what he said to me on the radio afterwards. It was not for broadcast, that's for sure.
Right, what's a right time and what's a wrong time to go on the radio then?
Well, we try and pick the straights. And what we do with Michael is after the second sector time, we give him some information on whether he's quickest, so he knows how hard to push in that last sector. And we didn't have very good television coverage, so we weren't quite sure where he was on the track, and I was looking at our telemetry, which should tell us. Okay. And there was a bit of a lag in the telemetry, so in fact I spoke to him just as he was coming through the fast chicane, and he didn't appreciate that very much.
Okay, well thanks for explaining that. David Coulthard was lagging a bit, wasn't he, Tony, until a late dash onto the second row.
Yeah, I mean, they say, OK, we're a little bit closer, but it's really not good enough for McLaren, and they are having their problems with qualifying performances. David did come across on his third run some gravel thrown onto the track by another car, and he said that would have definitely been my fastest run. They say they know what they've got to do. We've got to go away and do it, and we suspect they'll be a bit closer to Ross's boys by Silverstone. Well, you shouted in Michael's ear, and that didn't help him too much. What happened to your other man, Rubens Barrichello? Worst qualifying, what is it, 14 races since Spa?
Yes, not a happy day. We came here with a new tyre, a new Bridgestone. After the test, it was clear we weren't competitive enough. So Bridgestone brought a new compound, and Rubens wasn't sure about it. He wasn't completely happy with it. So in fact, he started yesterday morning with the old tyre, and then at the last minute decided to go with the new tyre. And he didn't get the car right for qualifying. We just didn't have enough time to get the car balance correct. But he's much happier this morning. He's quite pleased with the car this morning. So if he can get a good run in the race, I think he'll be very competitive this afternoon.
Let's just talk about Michael and his relationship with younger brother Ralph. Are you starting to feel a little bit sorry for him, perhaps, that everybody now seems to be focusing in on that?
Well, it's good media. I mean, they're two competitive racing drivers. Undoubtedly, being brothers, that has a bit of an influence over their races. You know, they're racing against each other. They're not going to push it. It's not going to be a do-or-die effort from either of them. So it has a bit of influence, and it's good media. Ralph, I must say, has come on a long way, because 2 or 3 years ago, I really didn't see him getting where he is today, because he was very ragged. He was trying too hard. But joining Williams has really settled him down, and he's a superb driver.
Well, we just saw last week's race. This is here last year, and Michael doing a number on David Coulthard. Are you absolutely happy with the way he starts races?
It's tough. I mean, I'll say I support my driver totally. So you're not going to get anything out of me to say that it's not. But it's tough tactics, I agree.
Bullying tactics?
Very strong, very strong. But the guys at the front are very strong. The reason they're there is they're very strong. You don't get weak people at the front of a Formula 1 grid, so it's a tough business.
And do you go along with the theory that Michael would only do that to certain drivers? I mean, if it was a Villeneuve or a Coulthard, perhaps a Montoya, he wouldn't have done what he did last week to Ralph? Was that nonsense?
I don't know how you judge that. I mean, some of those guys have not been at the front of the grid for a while, so it's not easy to say. But I don't know how you judge that. I mean, it's not just the start. If you look at a whole race, you get lots of situations where drivers will push another one to the limit. And they find it's part of their psyche, it's part of their build-up for drivers to know whether they're an easy touch or whether they're going to be tough. But of course there's limits. So a driver doesn't want to be seen as an easy touch, but equally he's got to put as much pressure on as he can. So it's all part of the challenge of racing each other.
One of the great reasons for your success, for Michael's success, Ferrari's success has been reliability, but you're a little bit unreliable here last year, I seem to remember.
Yes, we had, well, we were going through a period when we had difficulties with the tyres. We weren't using the tyres as well as McLaren were, and we were overheating the tyres. So during the race, Michael started to suffer from heavy tyre decay, particularly at the rear. So he was being challenged first by David, and then he was being hassled by Mika, and ultimately had an engine failure, which is not related, but it was one of our few retirements last year. So I hope we can do a bit better today.
I know our time is up. I know you've got to go at 1:15, but just one final question for you. Are Ferrari a more relaxed team all round this year, now that Michael Schumacher has won that World Championship for you?
It was going to be very interesting to see. I mean, people speculated that once we'd won the championship, it was all going to deflate. And I've been really pleased with the approach of everyone, because getting that championship out of the way has definitely helped. Everyone is just a little bit calmer, a little bit more relaxed. They know they can do it. We had 3 years of losing it at the last race, and that was tough. So we've done it now, it's behind us, and the team are performing superbly. And everyone's just a little bit more relaxed, but still very competitive. And I guess now it's fear of failure rather than having to win the championship. We finished second 3 years, we know it's not very nice, and we want to win the championship again. And the choice is finishing second or first, and everyone in the team wants to win.
You've got to dash back over there and get on with your work, haven't you? Thanks very much indeed for joining us, and thanks for your help during the races as well, telling us what's going on. OK, Tony, you just chat us through the grid to you as Ross makes it.
Well, Schumacher versus Schumacher again for the 4th time on the grid this year. I owe him one, says Ralph, about his big brother's squeeze from last week. McLaren's a bit close to the front, but still not a great qualifying performance. They won't be happy with that. Truly happy with his car, said we made a real step forward, 5th place on the grid. Montoya said he was blocked by a lazy. In Frentzen, he said he had a blockage, and we were talking about Barrichello before. He could not get the setup right. Villeneuve, I got the maximum out of the car. He said I pushed as hard as I could. Now the Frenchman, Panis, back there, he said, well, the car was worth 7th or 8th on the grid. We didn't do it justice. De La Rosa next to Kimi Räikkönen on the grid. Bertie had a couple of big spins in qualifying. Fisichella, the evolutionary package of the engine and the aero, not quite together yet at the moment. Jenson Button admits that he didn't adjust the differential for his last 2 runs. The car was therefore tail happy. A lazy setup not right. Very disappointed in front of his home crowd, the worst qualifying this year. Marquez had problems with upshift and downshift, but still 22nd on the grid.
Right, then let's talk to Michael Schumacher. He upset his brother, as we've heard, by squeezing him close to the wall at the Nürburgring at last week's European Grand Prix. But another win here, and you can just about close the book on the Drivers' Championship. James Allen reporting.
With 5 wins from the first 9 races and sitting atop a 24-point cushion in the championship, Michael Schumacher has every reason to feel he's on target for a 4th world title. And that's exactly how he feels.
Comfortable is probably the right word, but not over-comfortable, because people always tend to give me the impression, well, you should be very comfortable, things going easy. In racing, nothing goes easy. It goes sometimes easy by the wrong way, so I always want to be concentrated, obviously.
One area which is consistently stronger though this year is qualifying. You've been on pole very consistently this year. Have you improved? Has the car improved? Is it a little bit of both?
It's very obviously a matter of the car, because I can't see that McLaren suddenly gone the other way. It's all due to the drivers. For us, we're good in qualifying and in race, which is the best combination, obviously. But that's certainly down to the car.
You're getting the points, and of course the other thing is Williams are taking points and wins, which is restricting the possibilities that McLaren have as well. So in a way it's a sort of dream scenario for you, isn't it? The fact that it's spread out a little bit, it's not just McLaren anymore you're racing against.
Honestly, if you take the season, it has only been Nürburgring which basically cost Coulthard 2 points. Because in Imola he took away 4 points from Coulthard, but in Canada he did against me. And it is Nürburgring where David lost 1 position against Montoya, which is minus 2 points. Otherwise, Williams has not really influenced the decision of the World Championship points.
Is there a different pressure, a different kind of feeling when you're racing against Ralph from racing against DC or Häkkinen?
Yeah, there is certainly a different feeling. People may not believe this, but when I saw my brother winning in Canada and greeting me in a way he did, I was happy for him. I really felt good, like I did myself a victory. No, that's. It's something which I like to see. It's maybe more normal for the older one anyway, I have been successful, that you're happy to give away some success yourself.
But of course the irony is, the twist is, that to be successful, he's got to beat you.
Well, yeah, but that's a good challenge for him, isn't it?
It's a good challenge as well for David Coulthard, because just like last year, he comes here knowing he can't let Michael Schumacher increase his lead. Coulthard 24 points adrift as things stand, but at least he's close to the sharp end of the grid. Kevin Piper reporting.
It wasn't the ideal outcome, not with the brothers Schumacher grabbing the front row headlines, but in the circumstances, David Coulthard's late rush to 3rd place on the grid represents a good day's work.
I think we've taken a step forward from Nürburgring in terms of qualifying pace, which I hope will mean we're a bit closer in race trim. Obviously the Williams eventually getting pole, they've looked like it at a lot of races this year. That might mean that things are obviously going to be tight in the race, because they were obviously able to win without having pole in Imola, and you know, track conditions here in terms of surface are quite similar, although the track layout is quite different.
If Coulthard seems a touch subdued, he can take heart from his performance here in France last year. This move on Schumacher Senior, the highlight of a brilliant win.
I wouldn't want to meet him this afternoon anywhere. Coulthard really in super aggressive mode.
With Michael Schumacher going on to retire, Coulthard's victory put him back into contention for the title 12 months ago. He knows he needs much the same outcome this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the goal is to achieve victory, and you know, strategy will obviously come into that. The strongest hand lies with the front row guys, and it will come down to, first of all, who's got the better tyre, and then if Bridgestone hopefully have, then it will be whether we can, you know, use it more effectively than Ferrari.
Coulthard comes here in good shape on the back of a recent trip back to the family home on the west coast of Scotland, blowing away a few cobwebs under the eye of his personal trainer.
An environment like this is very conducive to training and being upbeat. which is what we're trying to create before the race. We want a positive attitude, and an environment like this, it instills that positive attitude, the desire to work hard and achieve.
Come on, get off me, come on!
I want the guy to win. Until he's won at least one championship, I won't be happy.
5, 6.
I just say for the record, that's much more difficult than it looks.
Meantime, as Formula One's driver merry-go-round season gets underway, Coulthard, for one, is hoping to stay put.
It's where I want to be. It's, you know, I've invested a lot of time in the team. I've been here since '96, and obviously they've been kind enough to give me that opportunity. And despite the difficulties we're having this year, I think that you know, we form a good partnership. So it would seem not very sensible to give up on that.
And we're getting buzzed at the moment by a mirage from the French Air Force. 35 minutes to go to the start of the French Grand Prix. So despite those recent setbacks, doesn't look as though David Coulthard's going to fly away from McLaren. But Jenson Button's future, well, that is less clear-cut as his Benetton boss Flavio Briatore shuffles his driver's pack. This from Louise Goodman.
Flavio Briatore is an influential figure in Formula One circles. Not only does he control the fortunes of the Benetton team, he's also the personal manager of some of the hottest young talents in the paddock. Fernando Alonso is a Flavio Briatore protégé, as are current Benetton incumbent Giancarlo Fisichella and fellow Italian Jarno Trulli. Trulli's Jordan contract expires this year, and his close relationship with Briatore has led to speculation that he'll be Benetton bound for 2002, but Jarno says the final decision rests with him.
Flavio's a manager, so he gets a percentage from what I earn and nothing else. I just, it's up to me to decide where I want to go and what I want to drive for.
We have the option to Jarno Trulli is in Jordan. We don't know yet, honestly. It's not simple to decide, and we need to talk with Eddie as well what he wants to do, and you know, we need to try doing the best for the team and for the driver as well. Plus we have two young drivers like Alonso and Mark Webber in the line as well. See what happens. We need to see what happens in the next 2 weeks, and we decide.
Giancarlo Fisichella has done a good job for the team this year, regularly outperforming Jenson Button. It has been mooted that Button will swap places with Jarno Trulli, but Eddie Jordan doesn't see that as a likely option.
I don't see that happening. It's not, I don't believe in, certainly it's not in Jarno's interest, and at this moment in time, as I say, the continuity is of importance to us, and the dialogue that's been built over the years is important to maintain that. Jarno is on top of his game. He's a super young boy, and we'll do everything we can to keep him.
Jenson Button, meanwhile, is just pleading ignorance.
I don't know anything about what's going on there. Yeah, I've spoken to other teams, but nothing serious or anything like that. You know, just a normal chit-chat, as everyone does, but nothing serious in it. Definitely not. I'm here next year at Benetton, and that's pretty much all I know.
But what of his long-term future? After all, Jenson is still under contract to the Williams team.
In 2003, it says that I'm in Williams. I'm in a Williams car with BMW. But anything can happen in Formula One, and it normally does, as Murray would say.
Indeed, he would. What about Jenson? Where do you fancy the cards are going to fall for him?
Well, it is very much the call of Briatore, because he's stacking the cards, but I think, you know, he's ultimately owned by Frank Williams, as he said, and I think Frank is sitting very, very pretty. He can look at the performance of Montour and Button over the next year and retain any one of those two and put them in the Williams car.
Right. You mentioned Flavio Briatore there, a man whose lips you have to watch very, very carefully to get the true meaning. But is he likely to be on his way? There's a bit of a buzz around the paddock this morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's so strong, Jim. It is actually worth mentioning that the paddock are suggesting that he finishes with Benetton next week and he's going to take over at Prost, potentially Asia Tech as well, and put the two together. But David Richards, you remember, he used to manage Benetton a couple of years ago, the guy from World Rally and IOC. He was here yesterday having a couple of meetings, he said, so that added weight to the rumour, really.
OK, Tony, thank you very much indeed. Well, the best drivers in the world have been flying around at Manicourt this weekend. Last year's pole time's been improved by over 2 seconds. Martin Brundle reckons he's mentally scarred by the circuit after countless testing laps. Here's one more, Martin, with Rubens Barrichello.
Barrichello only 8th on the grid. Let's see if we can see why. Taking it very slowly through that last corner. You can afford to give up the entry for maximum acceleration on the exit. Heading towards Grand Curb, 175 miles an hour. Do not lift the throttle. Straight line that mini chicane down into Estoril, turn 2. Fading to about 120, now accelerating hard, opening up that steering wheel as early as possible. Now, a nice, clean, clear, easy line down the back straight, 185 miles an hour into Adelaide hairpin. And we've locked the right front. Cadence braking, trying to get it in. We've missed the apex. Barrichello going up through the gears now, thinking I've trashed this lap already, just 23 seconds old, but carry on anyway through Nürburgring chicane. Nice clean line, bring it in early then for 180 corner, hug the white line, use the curb to suck the front of the car in. On fresh tyres in qualifying, no traction problems through the right and left sweep as you're heading towards Imola chicane, 180 miles an hour. Come down one gear, sweep down the hill, left-hand curb, bring it to the left immediately for Chateau d'Eau. 55 on the apex, a long time to get the nose in, but a lot of extra grip through the exit, and you can get power on early, up to 165 miles an hour before the chicane. Bounce across the curves, but not too much. Good there for Barrichello. This time attack the entry to the final corner, over the line, but only P8.
Very difficult lap, that one for Rubens Barrichello. Worst start for 14 races, as Ross Brawn has confirmed. That fellow's going to be going away in a couple of minutes' time. We hope it is enhancing your enjoyment of our build-up to the French Grand Prix. A lot of attention on the pole sitter, on Ralf Schumacher. I think Kevin Piper has some news of him. Kevin.
Thanks, Jim. Yes, all this talk of possible fireworks involving the Schumacher brothers at the start means the Williams boys here are going to be on their toes right from the word go, because if there is a coming together at the start, the spare car is not set up for Ralf. It might surprise you to learn that the policy here is to alternate between races. Ralf had the spare last week in Germany, so this week it's Montoya's turn, even though he's back on the third row. So as I say, if there is a significant coming together, these mechanics could face their own race against time to get the spare ready for Ralf.
Thanks very much indeed to Kevin. There we are then. David Coulthard. Well, we're all lucky enough really to be travelling around the world. Part of those big crowds watching Formula One. Our regular companions are the written press, battling for those exclusives. Well, Beverly Turner has been kicking around with a British hack pack.
They say F1 racing is one of the most competitive sports in the world. Well, it's nothing compared to the rivalry that surfaces when you put a bunch of English journalists against their German counterparts and add one of these.
Is he playing left back or left back?
This weekend, the press relieved a bit of pre-race tension with some sport of their own. It doesn't matter that our lads actually lost 6-1. It's all part of the F1 circus that they endure all season.
Tell me about the sort of lifestyle that you guys lead, because I know you're away for a lot of the year. Is it always fun, or is it often really hard?
It's a combination of both. We do have fun, we make fun, but you're away from home for so long. It would get very tedious if we didn't try and amuse ourselves in some way, because it is a marriage-threatening kind of lifestyle where you have no real social life at home, because we travel so often.
From Monaco to Melbourne, the gruelling F1 season unfolds in front of an audience of billions, taking in 15 countries and 5 continents over 32 weeks. That's 224 days. The British press spend most of that time immersed in the world of F1, bringing the stories to you at home and getting inside the minds of the drivers. It's a relationship that works surprisingly well.
It's one of the best seats in the house. You know which segment of the British press you could trust with an off-the-record comment, and you know the ones that you wouldn't entertain, you know, preferably at sort of double arm's length would be the preferred distance, but we're all different, and in the same way that they probably like some drivers and don't like others, then that's just human nature.
Do the journalists on the F1 circuit, would you say they have a hard life?
They're taking the if they say that. If they say they do, they swan over business class, get lifted to the circuit by Jaguar or Mercedes or whoever, and then they sit in the press room and all they do is copy the press releases.
I think that's him being controversial. I do his column in the Sun newspaper, and he's always got something to say. That's why we use him. I mean, he's great, and he'll wind people up as well.
Now, we saw you at the football. Is that normal on these sort of trips? Do you get to do more?
No, this is one of the more relaxed ones. Although these days, with everything being so high-tech, the drivers are in briefings hour upon hour, that you do spend a lot of time waiting around, or you have to have interviews planned. And then as a way of relaxing after a long day, then various fixtures are set up.
Like all of us at the end of a hard day, our British journalists abroad like to relax with a few drinks and a bite to eat. And tonight it's courtesy of Mercedes-Benz.
Our team is British and German, as you know, and so we take care of the British as good as we can. And otherwise, I have a personal relationship to many of these journalists from Fleet Street and whatsoever, and we really like to entertain them because they are a funny bunch of people.
What are you working on for Monday's paper?
Well, Monday will be the race, and hopefully we can have a bit more controversy between the Schumacher brothers. They're both on the front row of the grid, and Ralph has already said that he'll do the same move on Michael given the chance, so let's hope he does.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tom.
Pleasure.
And they're already the snappers to capture the start of the French Grand Prix in just under half an hour's time. Over 100,000 here at Manicourt. It is race 10 of the championship. Next, though, we're at home with Jean Alesi, a man in love with racing, and home is Avignon.
Avignon was Italy. That's why the Pope was living here. And on the other side of Avignon, it was France. So when you want to have a good luck, you need to sing a song. When you cross the bridge. Sur le pont d'Avignon, on y danse, on y danse. Sur le pont d'Avignon, on y danse tous en rond.
Flavio Briatore, the first race this weekend with the new Renault engine. How optimistic are you?
It's wrong information. It's no new engine. It's the development of the existing engine. It's the first step in, I hope it's coming another 125 step. But, you know, we are in the right direction, and this year sure is not great for us, but we know what we have, and we know what we have next year. I mean, it's okay.
Now, are we going to expect, you say you want some more steps of development. Will be another one for Silverstone?
Now the program starts, little by little it takes, so we need increasing every race.
Okay, thank you.
French Grand Prix since 1991. This fella, Jean Alesi, had already spent a couple of years in Formula One by then. Now, aged 37, he's the most experienced pilot of the lot. 193 races, just one win in a Ferrari at Montreal 6 years ago. He loves his job. He's got a great relationship with the fans. He battles on despite meagre pickings at Prost. Well, Jean Alesi invited Louise Goodman to experience his lifestyle away from the hurly-burly of ducking and diving for points at a race weekend.
On the banks of the Rhone in southern France lies the historic city of Avignon. Back in the 14th century, the walled city was the home to the head of the Roman Catholic Church. For the past 37 years, it's been home to Jean Alesi, another man with Italian connections.
Avignon was Italy. That's why the Pope was living here. And on the other side of Avignon, it was France. So when you want to have a good luck, you need to sing a song when you cross the bridge. Sur le pont d'Avignon, on y danse. Sur le pont d'Avignon, on y danse tous en rond. We are so pleased to have this bridge because we are world famous just because of the bridge.
Although he now lives in Switzerland, Jean has a home in Avignon and his family still live locally. The Alesis are a close-knit clan and Jean returns to visit them whenever he can. He has fond memories of his childhood.
I think Avignon was one of the good place for it because I had many friends who were cycling in the town. There is not so much traffic, and then obviously in the garage of my father I had a good time as well. My parents are from Sicily and they arrived in Avignon in 1959. So slowly we grew up here. When I said we, because my father was just a body worker, and slowly he built the carrosserie, and we are really proud of that because he showed us with just the work you can go everywhere. My mother was helping my father, so they worked together, and when we were coming back from the school, we were spending the time in the carrosserie, and it was great. I had my karting, I had all the toys to play with.
Since the early days of his racing career, Jean has always celebrated his victories at the local cafe. His successes have been a source of much pride to the locals.
I feel French because I grew up in France, I learned French, and it's the way it was, but I have all my family Italian, except my wife, Japanese. She's here actually. I've been really lucky to find Kumiko for many reasons, but the first one is we are from a different world, different countries. She's from Japan, and we have two children, Giuliano and Elena, and that is great, really great. When I had my child, I wanted to have something from my child with me. I said, okay, I want to put the name of them on my helmet. So I have the name of them and the name of the mother on my helmet.
But it's written in Japanese?
It's written in Japanese, yes.
Why?
Because to respect my wife.
Jean is not your name, is it?
No, because when I born, my name was Giovanni, and when I was a child, the kids was meaning each other, and they called me spaghetti. So then I was crying at home, and my parents decided to change my name from Giovanni to Jean.
Part French, part Italian, Jean's 100% Latin and typically passionate about his cars.
My first car was a Fiat 500, and I'm really glad to have it still now.
And you still drive it?
Sure. I have it here, and I like sometimes to take it and to go in the city because it's very easy to park.
And what about your other cars? How did you start your collection?
So I start the collection not like someone who wants to have cars to show, but just to enjoy. So that's why I have this old Rolls-Royce, because When I want to be romantic, when I have my head to be free for it, I take Kumiko to eat in some restaurants outside Avignon with this car. When I want to scare my grandmother, I take the F40 and I say to her, I'm sorry, grandmother, I had only this car. So when she sits, I do 2 or 3 kilometers in first gear, very slowly. And when we are on the bridge, I go full power and she's screaming, my heart, my heart. And I like that. The Porsche, that was a gift I did for Kumiko when she was 25. That was a birthday present.
It's not just cars that you have either. I think the other thing that not many people know about you is that you are actually Grand Prix driver and vineyard owner.
Yeah, it's very similar of what I'm doing with my job. It's a lot of passion, a lot of expectation. Sometimes you can be very lucky if the weather is fine. Sometimes you cannot control everything, you know, because the weather makes the wine good or not. And I like this idea.
Just down the road at his parents' house, Jean's mother has lovingly amassed a vast array of her son's racing memorabilia.
Voila. So here, Louis, is all my life.
Oh, wow.
Look, first of all, my karting, yeah. That is my years in Ferrari. Oh. My mother put, because there were so many times, so 91.
Ferrari was Jean's spiritual home, and he recorded his one and only Grand Prix victory with the team at the 1995 Canadian Grand Prix.
In terms of satisfaction, personal satisfaction, the win was okay, good for me, because I said, okay, finally you won, because I finished 17 times second, and I don't know how many times I retired when I was leading the Grand Prix. So I was so happy to have at least a win, but I don't care the results. What I care is to give the emotion I have inside of me when I'm driving the car. Maybe that is one of the reasons why I'm able to throw my helmet into the public and not doing like some drivers who are keeping the helmet because they are making a profit again. I say again because I think we are very well paid in our job. But they want to sell again the things, and I think it's completely wrong. And the way I'm doing is just because I do things with my heart and with my emotion.
Giovanni Alesi, we certainly want him to stick around a bit longer, but he's having to start the French Grand Prix in 15 minutes' time from 19th on the grid. Those two Jordans, 5th and 7th on the grid, Messrs. Trulli and Frentzen. And wearing a little Jordan outfit, joining us in the studio, Ross Kemp. People might be taking a double look at the old sets and saying, what's he doing in a Jordan outfit? Just explain to us.
I wonder what I'm doing in it as well, actually. Well, we're doing a documentary for ITV, and I'm being trained, hopefully, for Silverstone, where I'll be a member of the pit crew. I did the front right tyre on Trudy's car yesterday during qualifying and in Austria, and we were practicing using the thing that protects petrol, stopping the petrol being ignited on the exhaust. So, rather nervous.
Well, our regular viewers, Ross, will have seen you having a go at things down there. I know you haven't personally seen your effort, so you're going to see 1 or 2 pictures here for the first time.
And then just, as you come back...
That's you having a little go at the wheel.
The practice I got, so let's see how well I did. And that way now, back that way. Yeah. Put it on. And then put my hand across there and pull it back out. Yeah. That is too violent, isn't it?
A little personal technical problem, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, that was my flies.
There's your spare gun.
No, come on. This ain't going to happen.
Looking after you all right, those Jordan
been
guys?
Brilliant to me. I've been so surprised how welcoming they've been, and they've allowed me to become part of the team, and I've had some great times with them, both serious and playing around.
But I mean, there we go. It's a nice. We'd expect a nice sort of a thespian pose from me at the end there, wouldn't we? We'd expect that. But I mean, are you a bit daunted by it all? That you're really going to have to do the business in a couple of weeks at Silverstone?
It's amazing what happens, having been here, and what you watch this place grow like a village. It just grows and grows, like from Tuesday onwards, and you can feel the pressure building as well. I mean, it's. I think that's why it's such an appealing sport. It is. It's full of pressure. It's full of excitement, glamour. It's got everything.
Have they exactly told you what you're going to be doing at Silverstone, or is it going to be?
I think it's still. They're testing me basically all the way along the line, and as long as I come up with the results, and hopefully I'll be doing something something. I don't know.
Well, let's find out how you've been doing. Eddie Jordan is down there. What's he been like, Ed?
Well, actually, we've known Ross for some time. Likewise, he's brought a new dimension to us. We won't say what, but no, he's great fun. But he is such great encouragement because he's been in there and he's prepared to work. And yet we haven't still given him the green light for Silverstone yet. He's still a little... He's a little bit more training to do, and surely we'll help him to do that. We make sure that you keep him off the sticky buns up there. I don't want him getting the good life up in that nice studio and air-conditioned and all that sort of stuff, because it's not like that down here.
What sort of... I mean, he's been a bit coy up here. What sort of jobs have you really got lined up for him at the British Grand Prix?
Well, hopefully, if everything... We want, obviously, safety for everyone, but... if he does the job properly, hopefully he'll do the front wheel and on the race car during the race. And if he doesn't sort it out, I've got a couple of good Irish paddies here who can sort him out. Old Keno and Paul McGrath, they don't take too many prisoners, and I'll look after you, Kemp, if you don't sort yourself out.
Yes, Mr. EJ.
Roy Keane and Paul McGrath. We were just about to see Roy in the background there. Not too sure where Paul has got to. Final thought from you about the two cars this afternoon. You're well placed.
Well, you know, we've had a chance for the last number of races and we didn't take them, and that's been quite sad. It's been a difficult last couple of races since the traction control, the thing at launch control in Austria. We haven't performed like we should have, and fingers crossed, let's hope it'll start, because Silverstone is on us and we want to perform really strongly there, but it'd be nice to come away with some nice points here in France. Fingers crossed.
Eddie, thanks as always. Job this afternoon for you then? You've got to crash over, you've got the gear on?
Yeah, I'm on Heinz's front right tyre, so I'll give you a wave, Jim.
We will do. Good. And listen, good luck in a couple of weeks. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and just keep yourself properly dressed when you're at Silverstone.
I'm a nervous boy. I'm a very nervous
Everyone's watching. Okay, Ross, thank you very much indeed. Okay, Silverstone next in a couple of weeks. We actually got a little competition for you that we've thought out. Of course, it's Murray Walker's last Silverstone commentary, and we're wondering about a few banners that you might have sorted out for Murray. In fact, we're going to award a prize for the best banner. I understand 1 or 2 tickets are still available, and we will give a special signed Murray Walker print and awarded on the day, on qualifying and on the race day itself. We also have the result of our competition, a chance for you to win a great day out at the Goodwood Festival of Speed and a ride in the 2-seater European Minardi. Remember, we asked you about the nationality of the Minardi driver, Fernando Alonso. Is he A, Spanish? Is he B, Italian? Or C, from Argentina? Here's the answer from the man in the know.
Hey, I'm Fernando Alonso from Minardi. I'm born in Oviedo. The correct answer is A, Spanish. Have a good time in Goodwood.
These two are going to have a decent time at Goodwood. Nick Steadman from Buckingham and Barry Smith from Plymouth. Well done, Nick. Well done, Barry. You both get a ride in that 2-seater Minardi. And I should just point you towards a special show covering the best of the Goodwood Festival of the Speed. The highlights after our qualifying session at the British Grand Prix. We start that at 12:30 a week on Saturday, and that show at 2:30. Well, Ralf Schumacher, he's waited quite a while for his first pole position. Let's go live to Louise Goodman.
Yeah, they've made a few changes down here, Jim. Now, this is where the drivers used to exit the pit lane. As you can see, it leads on the main straight it leads onto the circuit right at the end of the main pit straight. Now, that was deemed to be a bit dangerous, so this new section has been built. It follows the line of the track around the outside of the first corner and rejoins it at turn 2 instead. Now, it's met with mixed opinions from the drivers. Some like it and some don't. We had a lot of pit lane exit controversy last weekend at the Nürburgring. Let's hope all goes well here this weekend.
Thank you, Louise. Temperature rising 27 degrees air temperature. It is 46 degrees on the track. Just under 10 minutes to go to the start of the French Grand Prix. Well, Mika Häkkinen has gone pretty well in warm-up. Had a miserable season so far. He's never actually won in France. Will it be his turn at last? Michael Schumacher squeezed David Coulthard at the start last year, and this time younger brother Ralph has the advantage of pole. Is it payback time? Right behind the Schumachers, David Coulthard really needing a burst of his special manicure magic. Then the Jordans that Eddie was talking about, Trulli and Frentzen, Sandwich, Montoya. It is full speed ahead then for the French Grand Prix.
Eddie Jordan, 5th on the grid. Jarno Trulli, again, he was 5th in the warm-up this morning. How confident are you he can maybe turn this into a podium position?
I want to finish first, then I want to get some points. Podium would be a real bonus, but you know, France has been lucky to us before. We won here a couple of years ago. Fingers crossed. Hopefully it'll repeat itself. It'd be nice.
But do you feel you're behind the Williams, the Ferrari and the McLaren? There's any way you can live with their pace over a race as opposed to a one-off lap as in qualifying?
Yeah, I think it's valid question. I think it's incredibly difficult. They have a definite gap over us. We have to try and be clever with the strategy and see what we can come up with. But you know, who knows what's going to happen? A lot of reliability issues, our reliability in particular. We have to make sure we finish the race. If we finish the race, I'd like to hope that we can get some points.
Best of luck, Eddie. Thank you.
And you're back with ITV Sports Formula One team at Sunbaked Manicourt. I should tell you that Murray Walker returns at Silverstone next time round. Once again, your commentary team for the French Grand Prix, Martin Brundle, and good afternoon to James Allen.
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Manicourt in the heart of rural France. When you drive into this circuit, there's a long avenue which leads to the main entrance. Along it are posted giant photographs of all the previous winners of the French Grand Prix. You see 2 photographs of Nigel Mansell. You see many of Alain Prost. You see 4 of Michael Schumacher. You even see 1 of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. This year, they've added David Coulthard's picture celebrating his Braveheart victory here last year. Will they be adding a new face after today's race? Well, they might. Because with 4 different chassis in the top 5 places on the grid, 3 different types of tyres from Bridgestone and Michelin being used, anyone on the front 3 rows of the grid today could win this race. It's very, very hard to predict the outcome this afternoon. Tyres will play a major role. Pole sitter Ralf Schumacher is on the softer of the Michelin tyres. His teammate Juan Montoya, though, is on the harder tyre, which should be more durable. So Ralf could have a few problems with tyre wear this afternoon. Both Ferraris and both McLarens are on the new harder Bridgestone tyre, which looks very promising indeed. They brought it here this weekend, completely untested. Michael Schumacher will be using it as well. And I have to tell you, this track does eat up the tyres. It's going to be a big part of the outcome of the race. There are a number of possible strategies this afternoon. 1, 2, even 3 stops is possible. 72 laps to be covered. And Martin, a really fascinating motor racing prospect, I think.
Yeah, looking forward to it, wandering around the grid, trying to analyse who might be doing what. Can Ralf Schumacher capitalise on his first ever pole position? BMW and Michelin's first pole since returning to Formula One, of course, and they've got a tough job on their hands this afternoon. It appears from this morning's warm-up, Ralf being quite a bit slower, therefore carrying a lot more fuel, they're seriously considering a one-stopper. I was just trying to prise some information out of Gerhard Berger down there quietly on the grid as to, surely you're not going to do that, are you? Because there's a bit of shaking of heads in the paddock of, we all know the quickest way around here is 2 and sometimes 3 stops. Everybody did a 2-stopper last year because the tyre degradation is normally higher than the advantage you gain as your fuel load goes down, and you should stop at an optimum time, especially as it's just about 21 seconds to make a pit stop here. It's a quick in lap. It's the last corner is very slow. The corner around the outside into the pit lane is slightly faster. It's short and an easy build up to speed on the way out. A new pit lane layout, pit exit layout here this afternoon, which will also play a role in that. But it makes no sense that we can see that of going on 2 stops, James. But maybe Michelin, maybe Williams know something that we clearly don't at this time.
Yeah, we're just taking a look at the grid order there, and you could see that the first front four rows are separated by less than a second. It's been one of the closest qualifying sessions I can remember for a long time. McLaren were up there as well, just 0.2 of a second off the pace. So don't rule out either David Coulthard or Mika Häkkinen from this equation. But interestingly enough, as we look there at Jos Verstappen in the arrows, and there's your pole sitter, Ralf Schumacher. He opted yesterday, Martin, to go with his softer Michelin tyre because he wanted the qualifying advantage. I believe from the Michelin people it's about 0.6 of a second, the advantage between the hard and soft, so he went for it. But interestingly, Juan Montoya, his teammate, was 0.6 of a second slower than him on the hard tyre. So you have to imagine he might have been right up there himself if he'd gone with the soft tyre. But equally, Montoya yesterday very bullish after qualifying, believes he's on the right tyre for the race, believes Ralf is on the wrong one.
Yes, those two red lights you can see, that is the start of the countdown procedure as they move into the final part of the overall start procedure. That's an acknowledgement to the team. So if you're wondering why those lights are gradually scaling down, of course they're the same lights that will be used later on for the start itself. But of course the big thing then, if those two Schumacher brothers that you can see in your screen now are going to have a big ding-dong battle this afternoon. If Ralf is heavier on fuel, Michael will know he has to get in front before or during turn 3 down at the hairpin, because if Ralf is on a one-stopper, he can spoil everybody's afternoon by holding them up so they lose the sort of 22-second advantage we know there to be in stopping twice during this race. So Ralf then on very used tyres there we saw, and Häkkinen then has lost the engine. Häkkinen will start this Grand Prix from the back of the grid.
Mika Häkkinen once again on the parade lap has stalled his car. Of course, remember back in Brazil, he stalled it actually at the start, so it's not been a good season for getting away off the grid for Mika Häkkinen. I don't know what's going on there. Mechanics furiously working on the car, and Mika Häkkinen, before this race has even begun, has put himself right out of contention. Now, will they be able to get that car off the grid in time, Martin?
I think they should get it easily started up in time, James. Yeah, it's quite a slow lap, this early lap, so he'll easily catch the back of the pack. He's got to be round there before the light procedure commences. Otherwise, under the regulations, you must go in the pit lane. How on earth do you know that before you turn the final corner when you've already missed the pit entry? Anyway, I've never really been quite sure. But wife area there looking suitably horrified, and that McLaren will not start for whatever reason. And now they're going to push it off the grid. They can recover to the pit lane where the team can try once again to start that car, and he can start the race from the pit lane.
What a miserable season for Mika Häkkinen so far. Scored just 9 points in the first 9 races of this Grand Prix season. Astonishing to think that the two-time world champion who won the 98 and 99 world championships has been in so much trouble, and once again his bad luck continues.
Bad luck for Coulthard in many ways as well. He needs Häkkinen up there to help him take points away from Michael Schumacher in the championship fight. So Coulthard up there by himself, but as we've said, 4 different cars in the top 5 on this grid, different strategies, different tyres. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, bad news for Coulthard, but good news for Juan Montoya and Jarno Trulli, of course, because they've been promoted a place, particularly Montoya, who is well worth keeping an eye out for this afternoon. As you can see the field streaming around there, Kimi Räikkönen. There you can see the 2 Benettons. We understand that the Jaguar of Pedro de la Rosa has had some problems on the parade lap as well. We might see him pulling over in a second as they come up to form on the grid. And of course, we'll see the 5 lights turn to red and then go out again.
Well, we saw Ralf Schumacher in the press conference after qualifying yesterday, and there is de la Rosa's stranded Jaguar Cosworth. We saw Ralf Schumacher saying to Michael Schumacher, hey, I owe you one from the chop you gave me last weekend, and don't be surprised if you get it back again. The pair of them completely ignoring the regulations in that you're not allowed to start chopping each other and pushing each other into the wall in front of a pack of 20 Grand Prix cars.
Remember how Michael Schumacher cut into David Coulthard last year? Will Ralf Schumacher do the same thing? A great start from him. He's got fantastic traction off the grid, and it looks like the McLaren is side by side with Schumacher as they go into Grand Court for the first time, but Schumacher gets in front. Ralf Schumacher leads from Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard third, Juan Montoya up into 4th place with Trulli 5th. A sensational start by both of the 2 Williamses, and not quite what Michael Schumacher had in mind. He really wanted to be in the lead going into this hairpin on the first lap.
Dream start then for Ralf Schumacher, no doubt about it. Coulthard and Michael Schumacher. And Ralph's locked a wheel, but he'd get away with it, I think. But Ralph braking slightly too late for that hairpin, but no damage done this time. Coulthard then side by side with Michael Schumacher into the first corner, but it turns into a piece of track that's like threading a needle. There is no room, and Coulthard had to yield. So he stays then in third place. Ralf Schumacher leads Michael Schumacher.
And not making a break at the moment. Michael Schumacher staying right with his younger brother as we go through, halfway through the lap now. David Coulthard looking strong. Those are the two marshals looking out of the way to get De La Rosa's stricken car.
I'm somewhat amazed, James, to see so many marshals on what is a runoff zone, effectively, into that 180-mile-an-hour arrival zone, into that Imola chicane. Clearly, and I didn't see any waved yellows either.
I think what they were doing, Martin, we just saw De La Rosa's car going through in front of the leaders at the moment. As you look at Mika Häkkinen, who looks like he's out of this race, De La Rosa must have got push started. That's what the marshals are doing, running out of the way. But at the end of lap 1, Ralf Schumacher leading from Michael Schumacher in second place. Coulthard is third, Montoya fourth, Barrichello fifth, Trulli is 6th, Heinz-Harald Frentzen is 7th, Villeneuve 8th, Kimi Räikkönen up to 9th, his teammate Nick Heidfeld is 10th, Eddie Irvine in 11th, and Jenson Button fans, your man is 17th.
Look at Coulthard wandering around there. Coulthard picking up a nice slipstream from both the Schumachers there. But remember, in the early stages of Grand Prix and after pace car situations, we've seen Ralf struggle to really build up to speed as quick as Michael, but at the moment he's managing to keep that gap. As soon as we can pick up a flying lap time, of course it was from a standing start last time around, now if we can pick up a flying lap time, we'll see if Ralf is in the 1:16s, and that's Ron Dennis, who's obviously been down to try to understand why one of his cars could not start the race.
Ron Dennis yesterday holding a press conference was bombarded with questions from the journalists about what is going on with Mika Häkkinen this season. Is he having a dip of form? Is Ron Dennis going to stick with him for next season? What is going on? Everybody's waiting to see whether Häkkinen is going to sign up for a 10th year with the McLaren team, which of course would make it an all-time record, one driver with one team, but certainly getting nothing whatsoever out of the French Grand Prix this year as Ralf Schumacher goes through to begin the third lap, and the man on the move at the moment is Rubens Barrichello, pressing hard in 5th place.
Yes, Barrichello started this Grand Prix in 8th, so he leapfrogged both Jordans in the first 1 or 2 corners of the lap. We've yet to see a replay, unfortunately, of the start. I hope we're going to cut away to that if the French director will allow us to. But Barrichello then with a decent start. And right now, James, I can't see anything. And Ralf once again running too deep into Adelaide hairpin. But I can't see anything. Here we go. Here's yes, we can see that Frentzen was very slow away anyway with the 2 yellow cars. There is Coulthard and Michael Schumacher. Coulthard running out of space, had to get out of the throttle, and I'm assuming then Barrichello in the 2nd Ferrari, you can see him currently in 6th place, must nail that Jordan on the way down to the hairpin. But just to finish what I was saying, James, there's nothing out there at the moment. Look, Ralf Schumacher fastest lap last time around. Nothing I can see at the moment suggests Ralf Schumacher's on a heavy fuel load.
No, nothing at all. But there's Ron Dennis speaking with Mika Häkkinen just calmly and collectedly. And of course we saw after the introduction of electronic driver aids, traction control, launch control, those kind of things, we saw that McLaren had all kinds of problems with the new software. They seem to have ironed it out over the last couple of races, but here again, some sort of gremlin has struck. Is it Häkkinen? Is it something in the electronics? Certainly the last time Häkkinen did that, it was definitely his fault. The team put it down to him, but here today we wait to find out. But Ralf Schumacher now starting to put a little bit of fresh air between himself and his brother. 7/10 of a second now he's opened out the gap over Michael Schumacher, with David Coulthard keeping right behind the 2 of them. And I fancy Coulthard this afternoon, Martin, to keep very close to Michael Schumacher, keep watching him.
It's certainly, and just to demonstrate how close it is, the first 4 cars were all within a 1/10 of a second on that last flying lap. But a man I want to watch is Montoya. He's on the harder tyre, he's got a clean start, he's up there in 4th place, just 2.8 seconds behind his teammate who's leading the Grand Prix, and Montoya then is looking very strong at this stage. Kevin Piper is in the pit lane.
Yes, and we've had scenes of absolute chaos and confusion here in the McLaren garage for about 90 seconds, 2 minutes. The McLaren mechanics were like bees around the honeypots around the spare car, rapidly changing it from the settings that were there for David Coulthard in the hope that Mika Häkkinen might be able to start the race in the spare car. They were peeling off the number 4, putting on the number 3, and then Steve Hallam, one of the top guys at McLaren, walked in and said, no guys, no hope, Mika is out, he doesn't start. So not for the first time this year. It's been much head shaking and disappointment in this McLaren garage.
Well, the green flag lap counts as one lap of this Grand Prix, so the only way he would be able to start in the spare car is if there was an accident and they red flagged it before the end of the second lap and it was a whole new restart of the Grand Prix. I do not believe he would have been allowed to start the race in the spare car without such a situation.
You're looking at the battle there for 7th, 8th and 9th places. Jacques Villeneuve, Kimi Räikkönen and Nick Heidfeld. That's the battle for the middle class honours, if you like. The middle race between Jordan, BAR and Sauber, and certainly Jordan having very much the upper hand this weekend. BAR and Sauber have been locked on more or less the same pace, with also the Jaguar of Eddie Irvine mixing it up with them. Irvine at the moment is in 12th place behind this group, but you've got Villeneuve, Räikkönen, Heidfeld, Panis and Irvine. A gigantic BAR Jaguar Sauber sandwich right in the midfield, and that's just as exciting as what's going on at the front as well. Very close racing here in the midfield. Only 2 or perhaps 3 points at stake sometimes, maybe 1, maybe none, as we saw in the Nürburgring 2 weeks ago, where Jacques Villeneuve drove his heart out to finish in 7th place. But they try very, very hard on a Sunday afternoon. This looks like it's shaping up to be a great battle.
And look at the pace of this race, James. The 16.9 that's currently the fastest lap is already a new lap record around this place. It's a 1:17.0 held before, so then already we're seeing, despite them having, say, 55 or 60 kilos of fuel on board, remember 10 kilos of fuel is over 0.3 of a second per lap, and then that must be a technical problem there for Villeneuve, I think, because it was initially, it looked like a small mistake, but then the car has faded away, so that releases Räikkönen and Heidfeld up into that 8th, and we think Villeneuve has actually gone off into the gravel. So, in fact, driven off, apparently. So Villeneuve then, some kind of technical drama in turn 2, the Estoril corner.
The race only 5 laps old, and we've already got 2 retirements. Mika Häkkinen, who never even made the start, and now Jacques Villeneuve as well. Ralf Schumacher, though, continuing his progress at the front. That's Sam Michael, you see, with your back to you, the chief operating engineer, as Jacques Villeneuve walks away. Sam Michael played a big part in the resurgence of this BMW Williams Michelin package. He's the man at the racetrack who makes decisions on the technical side. He decides the strategy, a bit like Ross Brawn, if you like. So I think when you think of Ross Brawn doing it for Ferrari, think of Sam Michael doing it for the Williams team, and he's come up with some pretty crafty ones so far, if we think back to the Canadian Grand Prix in particular, where Williams outsmarted Ferrari. But Ralph now starting to put a little bit of air between himself and his brother.
Exactly 1 second, according to our computer. Again, I don't see a lot of waved yellows. I see the green there to say they're clear of the danger zone as they move that stricken BAR. So Ralph then a second ahead. It was Coulthard who was fastest last time around. It's nip and tuck at the front, and Ralph once again taking that wide line through Adelaide hairpin.
And of course, we're wondering what strategies all these guys are on. They're running laps in the mid 1:17 range, which suggests they're certainly hustling on, and that suggests to me they're going to be stopping twice. Certainly they're on roughly the same pace and the same kind of strategy, that's for sure, because no one is making a break, no one is holding anybody up. Ralf Schumacher, though, as we look at the wave yellows for that incident of Villeneuve, leading the race on lap 6 from Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard still 3rd. Juan Montoya going strongly in 4th place ahead of the 5th place Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello, and then Jarno Trulli going well also in the Jordan in 6th place. Working on lap 9 here of the French Grand Prix, and the man who turned 26 yesterday, Ralf Schumacher, leading this race. You're looking down there a second ago at the BAR garage. Jacques Villeneuve has retired from this motor race, as we saw a few laps ago. He is the first retirement of the race proper. Mika Häkkinen, of course, retiring before the race even started. Michael Schumacher dropping back more and more each lap now. On that particular lap, he was 0.4 of a second slower than his younger brother. He's now 1.4 seconds behind, with David Coulthard keeping in touch. Montoya also keeping in touch. They're all watching each other, playing a game of cat and mouse. And that beautiful shot there, aerial shot from the helicopter of the BMW Williams, and the BMW pushing that car along the straights like nobody's business. All weekend we've seen them 8 or 9 kilometers an hour faster down the straights than the Ferraris and the McLaren Mercedes. And looking now at Heinz-Harald Frentzen battling with Kimi Räikkönen, the resurgent young 21-year-old Finnish driver who is currently in 8th place.
And the Brits then, 3rd for Coulthard, Irvine in 11th, still chasing Panis very hard. Jenson Button 15th ahead of teammate Fisichella, who's 16th. So a moderate afternoon so far. Coulthard desperately needing to stay in touch with Michael Schumacher, his championship contender, in front of him. But a double-edged sword for McLaren today, with Häkkinen not starting this race, is of course Williams are just 16 points behind them in the Constructors' World Championship. And Ralf himself is a mere 19 points behind David Coulthard, who's 2nd in the World Championship. So with a lot of points to play for this year, and the kind of performance we've seen from Ralf and his Williams of recent times, Ralf suddenly bringing himself right into contention.
Yes, he's been dismissing his own championship hopes, but I'm with you, Martin. I think if he wins a few more races, and particularly if Michael Schumacher has any run of bad luck, then it could certainly, the pendulum could swing Ralf Schumacher's way. As we continue to watch this battle, you can see on your screens between 7th and 8th place, Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Kimi Räikkönen. Frentzen not having a fantastic weekend here, once again out-qualified by his teammate Jarno Trulli, just 0.6 of a second between the two of them, and managing to hold off Räikkönen, who we just run out of superlatives to speak about Räikkönen, haven't we, Martin? He just keeps moving, qualifying well, keeps moving forward in the races.
Yes, and here he is once again in front of Heidfeld, his much more experienced teammate, and especially here of all places, James. Heidfeld, being a Prost driver last year, would have tested here just about every other week, but been no testing here or anywhere else this week. During the week of a Grand Prix, it's not possible, but they have had back-to-back Grand Prix. Of course, they were racing last weekend in Germany, and that's an unusual situation these days because it takes so long to demount the paddock and the digital TV compound. It's very unusual for them to have back-to-back races now. It takes too long to re-establish it in a different part of the world. They've done it because of the location this week, but the drivers then fighting hard for the 2nd consecutive Sunday, but that should not be a problem to them.
Extremely well, Kimi Räikkönen. If you reflect, he actually started 13th on the grid as well, Martin, so he's made up 5 places in the first few laps. We're looking now at the race leader, Ralf Schumacher, currently enjoying a 1.4 second lead over his brother Michael, with David Coulthard in 3rd place. And we should turn our attention now, I think, to the strategy side of things. We mentioned at the outset you could go 1, 2 or 3 stops. Doesn't look to me as though any of these guys are stopping just once. Do you think they're all on a 2? Nobody seems to be making any breaks, do they?
No, I think they're going to be pitting roughly the same time. I would guess lap 25, lap 26, something like that. Maybe a lap earlier for some of them. From what I understand, talking to the various teams, they all agree on this. There's no point running shorter or longer. There's an optimum time to make your pit stop with your tyre degradation, which is a fraction of a second per lap, and that's when you should come in the pits if you want to maximise your on-track time.
So any one of the top 4 at the moment could certainly win this race. We've lost Mika Häkkinen, who was another potential race winner, but a 2-stop strategy would see the drivers coming in for their first stop around about lap 24 to 26, and then their second stop around about lap 45. That's what we're expecting to see this afternoon. We can have lead changes on the track, we can have lead changes in the pits. An awful long way to go at the moment in this 71-lap French Grand Prix.
I think there'll be a few mechanics just beginning to stretch their muscles and crack their knuckles down in that pit lane, because it's just that kind of afternoon where the mechanics make the difference for the result of the Grand Prix, James.
Yes, I've seen it many times, been down in the garages myself, but Louise Goodman has news for us from Mika Häkkinen.
Yes, I have Mika with me now. Mika, I know you're not able to tell us exactly what happened, but just tell us the thoughts that went through your mind when you stopped on the grid there.
Well, I think simply it's just what's going on in my mind that time, you know. It's like feeling like you cannot believe it. You can't believe how bad luck I had that kind of situation, you know. When engine started, I thought everything is fine, and they suddenly stopped. And I just sat there, and the team mechanics tried to do everything to make the car to start again. So I was super disappointed, but I walked away again and said, well, just have to look the future and try to still to look very positive, you know.
Thanks, Mika.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, isn't it? And especially after such a disappointment, the adrenaline was getting ready to boil up, and all of a sudden it just falls completely flat on you. Good of Mika to talk to Louise in that situation. Quite clearly doesn't want to have to explain what exactly went wrong. He can't explain why probably at this time. It'll need looking at through the data acquisition on the car. But Mika Häkkinen then out of this Grand Prix, and he remains on 9 World Championship points only.
After 10 races it will be at the end of this one. Michael Schumacher though setting a new lap record, a 1:16.848, just closing the gap just a little bit to his brother Ralph, who still leads. That's Rubens Barrichello, who's still in 5th place with Juan Montoya. There he is in 4th place just ahead of him, and also a man worth watching. But let's just talk about this brotherly love thing, Martin, between Ralf Schumacher and Michael Schumacher. Obviously, a little bit of a fallout after the Nürburgring race, where we initially thought as we left the circuit on the Sunday night, it was because Ralf felt Michael had tried to push him into the wall off the start line. But now they're trying to make us believe that, in fact, it was just Ralf was upset at the stop-and-go penalty he received, and both brothers saying nothing between us, we're as close as we've ever been. What's your spin on it?
Well, the Schumacher brothers are now a worldwide brand, aren't they? And of course, everybody's going to want to try and get a Jemmy bar between the pair of them and understand what they really do tell each other when they're laying on the beach in the winter or whatever. Do they talk tyres? Do they talk team personnel? How much do they really tell each other? And how long then? How long will Michael Schumacher carry on saying, look, hey, I don't mind finishing second if my brother wins the race? And I don't believe that. It's going to be, in my experience of Formula One, impossible for these two Schumachers to end up or remain very close through what is going to... They're both now nailed to their teams. They're both now nailed to their teams for another 2 or 3 years. We're going to see a lot of head-to-head action. And Louise is with Jacques Villeneuve.
I am indeed, Martin. Jacques, any ideas what stopped you?
Electrical. I'm not sure what happened, but suddenly it switched off.
We saw you looking down into the cockpit. Were you hopeful that you could rectify the problem, or were you just trying to work out what it was?
Well, I was wondering if there was any button I could press that would do something, but no, the car just switched off.
Bad luck, thanks.
Sounds like he was looking for the ejector seat there. He sounds pretty unhappy about all of that. It's not been a great season for Jacques Villeneuve, that's for sure. And Frentzen then continues to be under pressure from 8th place man, Kimi Räikkönen.
Yeah, Jacques Villeneuve's not scored any points for 3 races. And that's an awful long time for the 1997 world champion, but these two going at it hammer and tongs, because of course, although they're only in 7th and 8th place at the moment, we're still only on lap 16, an awful long way to go, and they could well end up with points at the end of the day if they keep pressing on. Where did Räikkönen go?
He may well have gone in the pit lane. You can easily disappear, and Räikkönen then going for an extraordinarily early stop, so it looks like he's either decided to stop early within his 2-stopper and try to clear Frentzen. I doubt it, because he's going to go back out into the pack in a lot more traffic and get held up anyway, or he's on a 3-stopper, which is probably more likely. Meanwhile, Ralf Schumacher has done a lap record of a 1:16.6 this time around as the fuel load begins to ebb away.
Strange decision there by the Sauber team to bring Kimi Räikkönen in. Possibly he had a slow puncture, something along those lines, although he seemed to be harrying Heinz-Harald Frentzen. It's too early, really, to come in on a 3-stop strategy, and he put far too much fuel in for it to be a 3-stopper as well. We'll keep an eye on what Kimi Räikkönen is doing, but at the moment, Ralf Schumacher is pressing on. A new lap record from him, a 1:16.667. He leads after 15 laps from Michael Schumacher. 1.6 seconds the margin between the two of them. Coulthard is 3rd, Montoya 4th, Barrichello 5th, and Trulli only 15 seconds behind the leader in 6th place. Of the French Grand Prix, and this is Eddie Irvine putting enormous pressure on the BAR of Olivier Panis. This is the battle for 9th place. Could yield points at the end of the day, so everything is at stake here for both of these drivers. They're fighting tooth and nail at the moment. Irvine has been much quicker than Panis through the final stages of the lap, and chucking the car all over the place in his attempts to get past the British-American racing car. Amazingly, that's Enrique Bernoldi pulling off in the Arrows Asia Tech. He was down in 13th place, but looks like his race is run. But this is the battle, as I say, between Panis and Irvine. Panis yet never scored points, would you believe, in the French Grand Prix, his home Grand Prix in all those years, as we look at the timing stand of Jaguar. And once again, you can see that Eddie Irvine has lost ground through that first corner, so Panis able to use the Honda power, but Ralf Schumacher pulling out yet more of a margin, more speed, a 1:16.585, and he's certainly belying all the comments we made about those Michelin soft tyres. At the moment he's finding more and more speed and more grip from them, Martin.
He did. Gerhard Berger was saying to me he didn't believe there was much time difference actually between the soft and the hard that his two drivers are on, but he said, I'm really not at all sure about the durability, but they're on their 20th lap and so far they're looking pretty durable. Another 6 or 7 and we're expecting them in for a pit stop, so no dramas at all then for Ralf Schumacher. He's just holding on to that 1.7 second lead, but the first 5 cars, Ralf Schumacher, Michael Schumacher, Coulthard, Montoya, Barrichello, and are all lapping in the late 1:16.
And still only 10 seconds between them, first to fifth, so it's very close. Kevin Piper, what can you tell us?
Yeah, just to underpin the point you're making about tyres there, down here in the Williams garage, we're in stark contrast to the earlier scenes at McLaren. It's all cool, calm, collected. Patrick Head and the team with their eyes firmly fixed on the various screens and monitors here, charting the progress. But the point is worth making that Juan Pablo Montoya was absolutely adamant after qualifying yesterday that he had made the right choice. The hard tyre, in his view, was his best chance of getting a good result. And a quick word about the rivals, Bridgestone, Coulthard and Schumacher, both big fans, and one tyre technician described them as having really good grip, but above everything, fantastic durability. So it all makes for an intriguing battle.
Jenson Button pitting there from 13th position and showing that they were on a relatively light fuel load at the beginning of the race, so bad news there for Jenson. That's put him down to 15th. Raikkonen, who made that very early stop, I think you're right, James, Raikkonen's stop could not have been a scheduled one in any way, shape or form, and that's put him back down in 14th place. Shame for him, but up at the front it's still equally tight.
Now, you'll have seen when Jenson Button made that pit stop that the front tyres he put onto the car looked like they'd already done a race distance, and that's because with these softer Michelin tyres, they're all having to what they call scrubbing them in, just putting a few laps on them first. Now, you look at the tyres there of Ralf Schumacher, the race leader. He's on the same kind of tyres as Jenson Button, and I understand that they needed to start this race on tyres which have done 13 laps at least. And that's certainly what looks like what Button had just put on his car. And no doubt Ralf Schumacher, when he comes in for his stop, sometime in the next 5 or 6 laps, he'll be putting the same on. But just look how close it still is at the front. Still only 10 seconds separating first to fifth.
And they're amongst the back markers then, James, albeit the ones that have stopped. And the teams very much calculate this when they're working out their strategy for the afternoon. How long will it be into the race, given normal lap differences between the front and rear of the grid, before they catch the back markers?
Fortunately for Jenson Button, he is one of the back markers, and right below us we have the Ferrari mechanics coming out now to make a pit stop. Just looking to see, I think it might well be Michael Schumacher who's coming in, and it's Rubens Barrichello, in fact. Rubens Barrichello coming in to make his first stop from 5th place.
No apparent dramas at the moment. Revs are up, he's disappeared from underneath our commentary box, and away goes Rubens Barrichello into that new pit exit where you feed in much later. Some of the drivers have been unhappy about that, but it's certainly a better solution than feeding you in right into the heart of turn 1. But I think there is a point where the cars come very close together at a very high speed. Some of the drivers uncomfortable with that, but that then is Heidfeld in for his first stop of the afternoon. And Michael Schumacher there, currently still in 2nd place, 2.4 seconds now behind Ralf.
Yes, Ralf has cleared Jenson Button, though Michael Schumacher still has yet to do so. And we're entering the zone now for the first pit stops. Everybody looking very carefully at what everybody else is doing. You can see this is the battle now. Irvine got in front of Olivier Panis. This is the battle for 9th place. Here's how he did it.
So it's into the last part, and he's going to take the big banzai up the inside into Lise. That's a cheeky move, but it pays off as long as you have a willing partner, and that's a clever move from Irvine, one he had to make. He has a much faster car, and Panis then really not fighting that one too hard, James.
Oh, he seemed very wide over, didn't he? It's almost like inviting him through.
Yeah, I think he saw it launched, and once you've elected to have a go at that move, there's a one-way street. You switch that move on, you cannot switch it back off again halfway through, and I think we all know that. We've all achieved that move at some point or other, and we've all been victims of the same move.
What do? Just close your eyes and hope for the best?
It's a little bit like that, and you launch into that last corner, you think, well, why didn't I go into that as fast as that every time?
Eddie Irvine's made it work for him. I wonder whether it looks like Olivier Panis might well have dived into the pits there, having got past by Eddie Irvine, but there's your race leader still after 22 laps of this 71-lap French Grand Prix, approaching the first round of pit stops. Ralf Schumacher still by 2.4 seconds from his brother Michael. Coulthard is third, just another 2 seconds down, and then it's Montoya and Trulli, so very much action stations coming up.
It makes sense that Barrichello's pitting earlier than the others. Remember, he started in 8th place on the grid. By having 10 or 15 kilos less fuel, he had a much better chance of overtaking in the early few corners, and of course, he made that pay off very nicely as Jean Alesi then in the Prost Acer makes his stop. Some very used Michelins going on. 8.4 seconds. I don't know why they keep cutting away to the pit wall when they're doing that. It'd be nice to see the cars depart.
They were absolutely exasperated in the Prost garage after qualifying yesterday. Apparently Jean Alesi could not get his head into gear at all. It was a French Grand Prix, maybe he was just overexcited, but he was over a second slower than his teammate Luciano Berti. Apparently all his discipline of all these years of racing, he's been in Formula 1 now for 12 years, all went completely out the window, and he completely underperformed yesterday. He just got too emotional. We saw in the build-up to this show just how emotional he can be.
Obviously very excited about his work for F1 ITV this week, James. I'd imagine the fact that he was going to be on the telly today, maybe that spoiled his concentration. But Barrichello then, that's a very, very fast lap by him on the fresh tyres.
And that's an indication of just how much the fresh tyres are worth, because of course Barrichello will have taken on quite a bit of fuel. That should slow him down, but no, it's speeding him up because the tyres on the lead cars now are beginning to show their age, just as we predicted. We're on the 24th lap. And this is the Williams pit crew getting ready to receive one of their two drivers. They're both contenders in this race. Ralf Schumacher, of course, is leading. Juan Montoya is in 4th place, and it's Ralf Schumacher who comes in, the race leader, on lap 25 to make his first pit stop, bang on schedule. Tidy work so far. Fuel going in. Look at how old those tyres are, Martin.
Yeah, they look well tatty, don't they? But clearly they're about to do the job, and that looked like a longish stop to me. That did not do the job.
Yes, that's at least 2 seconds longer than it should normally take for a two-stop pit stop, so the window has now been opened for Ferrari. Michael Schumacher, can he get the hammer down? He was just 2.4 seconds behind his brother when his brother made his pit stop that time round. And Ralf certainly seemed to have the fuel hose on for quite a while, but I think the delay there was the right rear tyre. It wasn't all fuel that went in there by any stretch of the imagination. So Michael Schumacher, can he do enough now to get it in the pit stops to take the lead?
And the pit stop, I believe, James, will be this lap. Once again, there's an army of Ferrari mechanics in scarlet overalls and scarlet crash helmets underneath our window. Michael Schumacher in Chateau d'Eau. A couple of corners now to the entry of the pit lane. We think he will clearly be in this time, and they're putting brand new tyres on, I can see underneath there, and he'll duck left now, and there he goes. Schumacher then, your current race leader in the pit.
Well, he sat his fastest first sector of the entire race at the beginning of this lap. His middle sector wasn't too bad. He was 2 seconds behind his brother when he came in, but after a slow stop for Williams, they lost time. What's going to happen here? A cracking stop by Ferrari. Is this going to be enough for Michael Schumacher to take the race lead? He's going so slowly, it must feel like an eternity down the pit lane. And has he done enough?
I believe he will have done enough. I would be very surprised if that's not enough for Michael Schumacher to have got out in front of Ralf. It was a turn a bit second, quicker stop. He had a quick in lap too. And where, yeah, there he is. Yes, he's done it. Ralf Schumacher then now demoted to 2nd place. We think he took on about 74 litres of fuel, so a moderately short middle stint of the race then for Michael Schumacher.
Yes, and of course we saw Ralf Schumacher being delayed in the pits, but I don't believe that was all fuel going in. I do believe it was a slight problem with the rear tyre. We'll have to have that checked out, but obviously it'll make a big difference to when they make their second stops. Michael Schumacher, we're expecting to come in around the mid-lap 40s, but here's a man who still has not made his pit stop. David Coulthard, currently in second place, just 1 second behind Michael Schumacher on the racetrack. When he rejoins, he's going to come in at around about 5th place, I think, behind Ralf Schumacher, as Jos Verstappen makes his first stop of the afternoon.
So they're all choosing the optimum strategy finally then, and here then is Coulthard. He goes a little bit further down the pit lane to find his crew. Of course, they were second in last year's World Championship, so they're positioned second in the pit lane at every circuit we go to, and they're looking like they're fueling him slightly longer for David Coulthard. I believe he will stay in effectively what is 3rd place, although of course Montoya, your 4th place man previously, has not yet stopped.
But of course Coulthard was racing with Michael Schumacher, was only a second shy of him. Is he going to rejoin? Where is Michael Schumacher? Is that Michael Schumacher behind Coulthard? I wonder if it is. I think it is.
Do you think so? I think it's more likely to be Barrichello. He's been lapping quickly. So there's Ralf going through your picture, and there's Coulthard shaping up to pass the Minardi. But I think Barrichello, remember, he pitted early, put in those very fast laps, and it's helped his race enormously.
Yeah, Coulthard must have lost a little time, though, as well, Martin, I think, because he was only a second behind Michael Schumacher when he dived in for that stop. So that's Rubens Barrichello down in 5th place. Coulthard then drops down just in front of him. Montoya has not yet stopped. How much fuel has this man got on board? That's the $10 million question. Of course, he's using the harder of the Michelin tyres. And Juan Montoya now in the box seats as far as this Grand Prix is concerned. All eyes at Michelin will be very much on him, of course. This is their first home Grand Prix since their return to Formula One after a long absence. Their first pole position this weekend with Ralf Schumacher, and is Juan Montoya going to get his first Grand Prix victory this weekend as well?
Well, I tell you something, James, if he's won stopping, he's won the race, because he's been able to match the early runners, and we know he's got the harder tyres on. If he did, and I'd be amazed if he did, because he should not be going that quickly, given the fuel load necessary to do that. But Montoya then marching on his way, lap 28 of this Grand Prix, and last time around he had a 9-second advantage over Michael Schumacher.
As Eddie Irvine comes into the pits, this is lap 28 now, quite a late stop for a two-stopper, but certainly Juan Montoya, after qualifying yesterday, I mentioned he was feeling very bullish, and he did say that he felt there was a possibility of taking a few risks this afternoon. He said, I feel I might do something different in the race tomorrow, certainly something very different from Ralf. It looks at the moment as though he's gone that way. He made a different choice on tyres. Has the strategy played out for Juan Montoya?
Mind you, he was a second slower than Michael Schumacher last time around. So right now, then, it's Michael that's making the moves on the racetrack. Michael was very, very fast. A 1:16.2, well over a second quicker than anybody else. Although, of course, some of the key players are in traffic, as indeed Montoya then. So what will the gap be this time around? It was 8.7. It's now 8.1. So another 0.6 of a second eked out of that lead by Michael Schumacher.
So Montoya leading then after 28 laps, 8.1 seconds, as you've just seen the gap between himself and Michael Schumacher in second place. Ralf Schumacher in the second of the two Williamses is third, with David Coulthard fourth, 16 seconds behind the race leader, but just 8 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. And then we've got Rubens Barrichello, another couple of seconds behind Coulthard. Irvine coming into play, although he's just made his pit stop, so I'm sure when the computer shakes out he'll drop down a little bit. In fact, he does. Jarno Trulli now appearing in 6th place. We haven't seen him come in for this. He must have made a pit stop actually, because he's now dropped down to a full 20 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello. So quite a lot of margins, in fact, opening up in those pit stops. You can see the variable ability of the pit crews and the timing of the in-laps and the out-laps. We had the top 5 separated by just 10 seconds before the pit stops. Now they're separated by 18 seconds.
Yes, and we have seen Ross Brawn play this shorter middle stint to great effect many times, assuming I'm right on that. But, of course, the fuel flows in at about 12 litres per second, 8 kilos per second, and that's how we know roughly how much they put in. But I agree with you. I think Ralph's stop was lengthened because of a slight delay on one of the wheels rather than having put in that much fuel. And Kevin Piper is down at the Williams pit.
Yeah, not sure how much I can tell you other than, hold it, in fact I think it's right to say that Montoya could be coming in this lap, or could be coming in within the next couple of laps. I was going to speculate that he could be on a one-stopper on the back of some information I've been given, but all they're saying now is that Ralf Schumacher's stop was on schedule, and it looks as if Montoya is on his way here now.
We're watching Michael Schumacher at this time, and hopefully if Montoya does pit, we will pick that up. It's down then at the Nürburgring chicane. Michael Schumacher has pulled the lead back now to 6.6 seconds behind this man, Montoya. He's got a bit of traffic ahead of him. He should not really have to clear that car before he enters the pit this time around, and we believe the pit crew are out. Yes, indeed, the Williams pit crew are ready to receive Montoya, and he has lost a bit of time. The Prost then making a bit of a fuss about letting him through, so Montoya into the pit lane. The team will be very ready for him. Out of the lead, into the pits.
So the telltale thing now is how long the fuel hose goes on for. Juan Montoya, the race leader, comes in. The fuel hose is on now. The stopwatch is running. If it's anything more than about 9 or 10 seconds, he could well be fueling it to go to the finish. It's not. He's going a two-stop strategy. So that means that Michael Schumacher leads the race. From Ralf Schumacher, David Coulthard is third. Rubens Barrichello as well is in the mix. Where's Montoya going to rejoin into the mix? As Juan Montoya took on just under 90 litres of fuel, and that'll take him deep into the early lap 50s, I would imagine, which will make him again the last stopper. And so a very interesting cat and mouse afternoon here tactically, and you're looking there at Michael Schumacher, the new race leader, after Juan Montoya made his stop there. And Ralf Schumacher not far behind him, 6.8 seconds behind him though, so it's played out quite nicely for Michael Schumacher. He managed to get ahead of his brother. As you look at this timing wall there, Ferrari, Jean Todt on the right, the sporting director, and Ross Brawn on the left. It's played out very nicely, this, for Michael Schumacher, hasn't it, Martin?
It has indeed, but the real race at the moment is Coulthard has closed down to Ralf Schumacher by just 1.2 seconds, and we believe there's a 10-second stop-and-go penalty for Coulthard for pit lane speeding. We think David Coulthard's about to get a stop-and-go. What a disaster that is. Michael Schumacher moves into the lead, and a 10-pointer. Coulthard at least is on 4 in third at this time, and he is now going to get a stop-and-go.
The margin, of course, already between them in the World Championship is 24 points. So another solid 10 out of 10 for Michael Schumacher this afternoon. And null point for Coulthard will pretty much put another nail in the coffin of Coulthard's championship hopes. Although we still, of course, and there's the confirmation, we still have plenty of races left in this World Championship yet. Another 7 races. And, well, a very forlorn McLaren pit crew now coming out to get the stopwatch ready to time David Coulthard's stop and go, because, of course, the team have to do it themselves, don't they, Martin?
Yes, they do. He will stop at his own garage, and they cannot touch the car. He has to be stationary for at least 10 seconds. And, well, that's the second consecutive Sunday a good race has been spoiled by necessary penalties, I'm afraid. I mean, you can't even stop and talk to the policeman and try and talk your way out of that and pretend you're on your way to your wife having a baby or something, can you? You're nicked and that's it. You've got to come in, argue about it later with the judge.
Well, one member of our team, of course, this weekend has already had a run-in with the constabulary on the speeding offence. David Coulthard is just going to be having to come in and make his 10-second stop-and-go penalty. Here he is diving into the pit lane, was in third place. This is going to drop him down, I imagine, to about 6th or 7th place, possibly behind Jarno Trulli. A disaster for David Coulthard.
Trulli's about 34 seconds behind the 6th place man. This will definitely put Coulthard, though, down into 5th place. And did you see Barrichello was only 2 seconds behind him anyway. Barrichello having a tidy middle part of this Grand Prix as Coulthard rejoins. And once again, Bertie clumsily letting people past him.
Yes, Bertie down in 12th place. Not a bad run for him, but he's already been lapped. We've lapped everybody now up to 11th place. The next man to be lapped will be Olivier Panis, and the man who will be doing it will be this man here, Michael Schumacher, currently leading the World Championship and currently leading the French Grand Prix, already 4 times winner here. He's 7.7 seconds clear of his brother Ralf. Rubens Barrichello in 3rd place, Coulthard 4th, Montoya 5th, Jarno Trulli 6th. Heidfeld and Frentzen having a great battle in 7th place. Then it's Irvine in the Jaguar 9th, and Kimi Räikkönen still going strongly in 10th place in the Sauber. Approaching half distance then in the French Grand Prix. You've missed nothing. Michael Schumacher still leading this race by 10 seconds now from his brother Ralph, with Rubens Barrichello in the second Ferrari, who's been the major benefactor of the first round of pit stops. He's now just 1 second behind Ralf Schumacher and pressing very hard indeed. That last lap, he was 0.8 of a second faster than the Williams driver. In fourth place, we still have the second BMW Williams of Juan Montoya, and David Coulthard did manage to re-emerge in front of Jarno Trulli. He's fifth, Trulli is sixth, and that is Rubens Barrichello on screen, currently running in third.
Yeah, Barrichello started eighth, up to third, and look, just 1.1 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher. The Ferrari working beautifully. A lot of talk that those Bridgestones have been blistering under a heavy load through the weekend, but I think once again it's a similar situation where they blister on the inside shoulder of the rears, and the drivers don't really know about it until they're told, or until they come in the pits sometimes later. So the Ferrari's working absolutely beautifully this afternoon, and it's Ralf Schumacher coming under pressure, the very man we expected to be pressurising the Ferrari.
Absolutely, although I do wonder, we talked in the early stages about the tyre wear situation, and of course Ralf Schumacher is using the softer Michelins. He's not going as quickly in this middle phase of the race as he did in the first phase, but below us, Martin, Ferrari getting ready with another new set of tyres, so we wait to see whether that's seems a bit early for it to be on schedule. Rubens Barrichello made the first stop in the very early lap 20s, about 21 or 22 I think it was, and it's only 14 laps ago in fact he made his stop. Is he coming in this time by?
Well, they may have elected to do that because they think that if they get him in, get him some clear air, they will have calculated where he will rejoin the racetrack. Is there any traffic in that zone? Is that the way to springboard past Ralf Schumacher? Remember, last time they gave him fresh tyres, he went out and did a 1:16.1, a new lap record, and that could well get him up into second place. So I think smart thinking there by the Ferrari team.
Very interesting tactics. Not seen anything like that for a long, long time. We're waiting to see where exactly Rubens Barrichello is going to rejoin, but of course they're taking advantage of this big gap there is in performance between the top three teams and everybody else, Martin. They're able to just use that big void, that vacuum, move the cars around and slot them in with no risk of being passed by the BARs and the Saubers of this world.
Now we can see also why they've done it. Look, they've got him back out in front of Coulthard. Remember, Coulthard had to make a second stop for his stop-and-go penalty, speeding in the pit lane. I don't really understand how that can happen. There's a button on the steering wheel, and it's controlled electronically. But Ferrari working out. They can keep their man ahead of Coulthard, maybe find him some clear air. With the blue flag situation these days, that Prost will have to get out of the way quickly, and that's kept him in front of Coulthard and could well springboard him up into second place.
Of course, the interesting thing is Coulthard's still got a second stop to make, and we wonder whether Rubens Barrichello has enough fuel now to go through to the finish, because he's been refueled twice in the last 16 laps. Both times he's taken on around 60 or 70 kilos. So depending on how much he had in the car at the start, Rubens Barrichello will either be able to go to the finish or maybe have a splash and dash just before the end. But exactly as you say, Martin, he's now ahead of David Coulthard. This is one for the aficionados who like their race strategy. This is going to be studied for quite a few years to come, I think, this Grand Prix, because it's all happening in the minds of Ross Brawn, Sam Michael and the other technical directors who try and work out the strategies, trying to place their car in exactly the right position, working against the way the drivers go, the tyres degrade and the fuel load lightens. It's pure maths, it's very difficult, and only very, very few people are any good at it. A nose change here, looks like, down in the Minardi garage, and that is Alonso from 17th place, Martin.
That was a very quick nose change too. It normally takes 17, 18 seconds, but ironically they had the nose on before they finished refueling. That was impressive.
That's very impressive. Ron Dennis there watching on. His man, David Coulthard, of course, after that stop-and-go penalty, now down in 5th place. Just 34 laps remaining, just over half distance in this French Grand Prix, and a very interesting tactical game going on here in France.
They obviously practice those nose change quite regularly, but I'm not sure how comfortable I'd be. I mean, in a big accident where you sideswipe the nose of the car, you want that to stay on, and that is only hanging on by obviously a couple of bolts. Clearly it passes the crash test, which I believe are only in the straight ahead position.
They have these gigantic Allen keys that they bring in from the side to just lock on the nose, but as you say, Martin, normally 4 main retaining bolts, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, holding the nose onto the main monocoque of the chassis. And in that case, they managed to get them off extremely quickly as the Minardi moves well out of the way. That's Tasso Marquez. getting out of the way in 18th place of the race leader, the second time he's been lapped this afternoon. Michael Schumacher has lapped everybody still up to Olivier Panis in 11th place.
There's a huge race of reputations going on here this afternoon, but it's down in 13th and 14th place at the moment. Fisichella now slightly ahead of Button. Button on his back foot this year with a difficult car that is slow, and he really does, as we've said many times, need to show that he's as good as, if not better than Fisichella, and they're at it hammer and tongs, really. It's like a little private war going out there, because they're really effectively not part of this Grand Prix, James, and this was the very weekend where they were supposed to be coming out with all guns firing, of course.
Yes, we heard talk of improvements to the engine of the Renault. We heard talk of aerodynamic improvements as well. Mike Gascoigne, the Benetton team technical director, has been working feverishly to try and improve the Benetton car, and as you say, Martin, no real gains. But we're looking at Ralf Schumacher now. What is he? Well over 14 and a half seconds behind his brother Michael, and this second set of tyres not working for Ralf Schumacher.
Yeah, it's just what I was going to say, James. It's really not panning out, is it, in this stage of the race? Because look, Montoya then just over a second adrift on the harder tyres, and Ralf not showing anything like the pace he did earlier on. He's back in the 1:17s and clearly not happy with the balance of that car. And it's all about balance, this racetrack. It's a very technical track. You need the car to go where it needs to go.
And of course, the man who'll be really kicking himself about this is David Coulthard. He was just 1 second adrift of Ralf Schumacher when he had that stop-and-go issue. He would now almost certainly be monstering him, passing him, and up into, well, second place, really, and looking at trying to catch onto the back of Michael Schumacher. Meanwhile, it's Juan Montoya who is now climbing onto the back of Ralf Schumacher. They've got a back marker in front of them, and I think we're going to have some internal Williams squabbling coming fairly shortly.
And unless Barrichello does have to have a splash and dash later on, it is working out very nicely for him, quietly back there in 4th place, lapping about a second a lap faster than the Williams consistently, and that, as we said, is going to springboard him up into 2nd place. He's currently lapping same speed as the race leader and teammate Michael Schumacher, and Ralf then will easily clear that back marker under braking, and he doesn't do so, does he? Look, he's not happy. That's Bertie once again sort of making a big job of getting out of the way, but Ralf did not look confident into that hairpin.
The situation constantly changing, ever evolving throughout this Grand Prix. We've got another 31 laps to go and a lot of changes no doubt to happen. Ralf Schumacher seems pretty ginger under braking, as you say, Martin. Juan Montoya, though, right behind him. These two BMW Williams drivers, of course, using 2 different types of Michelin tyres. That strategy was decided before qualifying yesterday as we watched Kimi Räikkönen coming in to make his pit stop on lap 41. Getting a nice wipe of the visor. Fuel going in. Yeah, pretty much bang on target for a 2-stop. A bit early for his 2nd stop, but there's the man we've got our eyes on at the moment, Juan Montoya. And, well, he said yesterday after qualifying he felt he was on a better tyre, that Ralf had gone for qualifying position rather than race position. And he's deliberately sacrificed 0.6 of a second he knew he could have had in qualifying, but he wanted a better race tyre, and there's some serious thinking going on there on the Williams pit wall. What they don't want, of course, Martin, is any fun and games between these two, either of them putting each other out. They want points. Williams are here to score as many points as they possibly can this weekend.
Yes, they're thinking, right, if we want to win this race, we want to minimise the damage of Michael Schumacher up front. They've got to get, I think, Montoya past Ralf Schumacher somehow. Ralf is clearly not hooked up for whatever reason, and their best bet, I think, is to get Montoya past him.
Of course, we'll turn our minds back to Jordan, of course, in the Belgian Grand Prix a few years ago in the rain. Damon Hill leading Ralf Schumacher. Sorry, Ralf Schumacher leading Damon Hill. And no, Damon Hill leading Ralf Schumacher and told not to overtake him, even though Damon was faster. Ralf was faster. That's the situation. Ralf Schumacher took it very badly indeed on that occasion. Wasn't at all happy. What's his reaction going to be, I wonder now, if Williams get on the radio and say, listen, Ralf, we know you qualified on pole on your birthday, but one's faster, let him through.
Well, Montoya's sort of got in that dirty air zone and not getting much further now. Meanwhile, Michael Schumacher's over 17 seconds ahead, so it's just not working out at the moment. Williams do not appear to have an answer to Michael Schumacher pace, the same pace he showed in the warm-up this morning. Häkkinen, as it happens, and Michael Schumacher looking blisteringly fast this morning, and Michael certainly confirming that this afternoon, and Barrichello backing that up well too.
30 laps to go in the French Grand Prix then. Still only 3 retirements, amazingly enough. Mika Häkkinen, whose car failed on the parade lap. He never even got as far as the start line. Jacques Villeneuve, who had some kind of electrical failure and pulled off after 12 laps, and Enrique Bernoldi, who pulled off after 23 laps.
And here we go, Irvine makes the move finally on Frentzen, and I believe Frentzen should be penalised for that. Frentzen should let him go, otherwise he will get penalised because he saved a position by taking a shortcut. You won't get penalised if you don't take advantage, but by not losing the place, you're taking advantage.
And we saw Eddie Irvine gesturing there to the pit wall. You could see he was very unhappy. He believes also that Heinz-Harald Frentzen should move out of the way. Meanwhile, Martin, as we take a look at this first.
Yeah, Irvine then getting position into the chicane. Frentzen nowhere to go. He just elected to scream across the no man's land there, and that is cheating. That is not within the regulations. I'll be amazed if he doesn't get some kind of penalty, a stop-and-go penalty for that. What would have been smart there, and yes, he has let him through, look. Just was going to say, what would be smart is to let him through if he wants to avoid that penalty.
Yes, this is the battle, of course, for 8th place between Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Eddie Irvine. Here it is from earlier on.
Yeah, and Frentzen, look, lifted off the throttle, yielded, did not make a fight of that at all, and I would suspect the team told him to do that.
Yeah, smart thinking. Yes, he waves. You can see clear acknowledgement of his mistake. It's cost him a place. It's cost him 8th place, in fact. Meanwhile, the Williams pit crew are out in the pit lane. We understand it might well be for Ralf Schumacher, currently on 2nd place, and this is the 44th lap, so Ralf pretty much bang on target here for a 2-stopper. We saw him earlier on coming in on lap 25. This is going to drop him down probably to about 5th place, I would imagine, 4th or 5th place, and Juan Montoya is the one who's going to benefit from it. He's going to move up into 2nd place, and of course we're still not quite sure how much fuel Montoya's got on board.
Well, the big story then that we can look for at the moment is, will Barrichello and Coulthard end up in front of those 2 Williams? And it's Montoya that goes through, and it is Ralf who comes into the pit lane, Kevin Piper.
Yes, and the other big story, is it going to be Ralf being told to defer to Montoya, or are they going to let them just go out and do their own thing? Patrick Head and Sir Frank Williams were locked in conversation just moments ago before this pit stop, and Ralf makes a quick exit, but it's going to be interesting because fairly shortly we should know who's going to come out on top in the battle here at Williams.
But I think the damage is already done, Kevin, because Michael Schumacher 20 seconds in the lead last time around, and we're expecting a Ferrari in this time too, and it must be for Michael Schumacher. We saw Barrichello pitting a few laps ago, so Michael Schumacher then in this time around, we believe.
Yes, and he's only 19.9 seconds ahead of Montoya, and that's not going to be enough for him to rejoin in front of the Colombian. So Montoya will again lead the race, I believe, after this pit stop. Michael Schumacher dives in. He needs to make this as quick as he possibly can. No pit lane speeding, of course, for him. They'll have warned him of what happened to Coulthard. No one wants to make that same mistake as David Coulthard made. New tyres going on, brand new tyres. So far, so good.
And this is where it pays off for Michael Schumacher when he does not do that extra run in qualifying. He saves new tyres from the Friday morning, for the Saturday morning, as the regulations now work out, through to, it wasn't a particularly good stop, James, was it? Montoya, I believe, will take the lead again, and he does so. Montoya then flashes through the foreground, but he's got to stop again. Michael Schumacher has not got to stop again.
Indeed he has. We thought Montoya might be trying a one-stopper, but as it turned out, he stopped very late, of course, but he did put a normal amount of fuel into the car. So it's all to play for here at Magny-Cours. Montoya leading, Michael Schumacher in 2nd place, Rubens Barrichello holding on in 3rd place. David Coulthard, after that stop-and-go penalty, is 4th, Ralf Schumacher 5th, Jarno Trulli still 6th, where he's been pretty much throughout the entire afternoon. And it's been a while now, 4 races since Jordan have scored any points. And they'll be very happy if Jarno Trulli can come in 6th place. Eddie Irvine going fantastically well today in 7th place, made his way up from 12th. A real tigerish day for the Jaguar driver. A little lock-up there, though, Martin, from Montoya.
Yeah, it's all right into that corner. Often your front right is doing virtually nothing in there, so it might as well be stationary for a split second or two. It's not going to do you any harm. It's when the back starts sliding in there. So Montoya then over the line in a 1:16.5. That's a good lap time at this stage of the Grand Prix, and he's 3.66 seconds ahead, and we're sure, though, that he's got to stop again. Can Michael reel him in in these next few laps before Montoya stops. But as you said, Jarno Trulli, 6th place man. He's the next target of the flying Eddie Irvine, who's 16 seconds down the road. So Irvine then with a sniff of a World Championship point yet again for the Jaguar team.
Yes, already had a podium, of course, in the Monaco Grand Prix, Eddie Irvine, but looking for some more points here this afternoon. So Montoya going to make a stop in the not too distant future. He's leading by 3.6 seconds from Michael Schumacher. Then it's Barrichello 3rd, Coulthard 4th, Ralf Schumacher 5th, Jarno Trulli still 6th. And the final parts of this race, as we work on lap 47 out of 71, still to look forward to. Lap 49 of the French Grand Prix. This is Michael Schumacher just saying thank you very much. Is he, Martin? Not quite sure. Maybe about time too. One or the other.
No, I think he was saying, look, why did you go right to the apex before you let me come through? And I don't think that was a kind, particularly happy gesture there from Michael Schumacher, who, of course, is 2nd place at the moment, still about 4.5 seconds behind Michael Schumacher, as Alesi has a reasonable pit stop. But Schumacher, I think, will feel comfortable. We're all pretty sure that Montoya has to pit again, and I'm sure Ferrari will have the same information, and they will have also timed the amount of fuel going in to that Williams. And is that Frentzen? He's having a miserable afternoon. Frentzen spinning in the final corner, and once again with traction control. That's a bit confusing how that can happen.
Absolutely. We've seen a few high-profile spins this weekend. Here it comes. Round and round he goes. John Lacey had an extraordinary spin yesterday out at the Grand Courbe, and Frentzen getting himself turned around. We understand the Williams crew now are out, ready to receive Juan Montoya. And the $10 million question here, Martin, is where is he going to rejoin? As Luciano Berti makes his stop, where will Montoya return from his pit stop? Will he drop down below 3rd or 4th place? That's Michael Schumacher.
I think he'll come back in. Yes, he's going to come back in very, very close to Coulthard, who also has got to stop again yet. But the big news is, how much fuel has Barrichello got in the car, really? That's the story at the moment. Can Barrichello run to the end? He's been out of phase with the rest of them through the afternoon with his 2 early stops so far. Does he have enough fuel? Because if he does, we're looking at a Ferrari 1-2 here.
Well, Rubens Barrichello's had a bit of a tough time in the last few races, ever since being asked to move over, make room for his team leader, Michael Schumacher, in the Austrian Grand Prix. His head's gone down a little bit. Here's Juan Montoya, race leader, though, on lap 51, making his stop. Everything fairly routine for the moment. little bit of hesitation there, front jack man. Montoya right on the rev limiter and launches it down the pit lane. Where's he going to rejoin, though? That's the question. Is Coulthard going to come into play? Is Ralf Schumacher going to come into play? Because don't forget that Ralf Schumacher and Montoya were right together on the racetrack before we got into the pit stop sequences.
And Coulthard, I believe I saw Coulthard go through from a long shot. Minardi and a McLaren look quite similar on the colour schemes, but I believe, yes, there is Coulthard is ahead. And so that's, yeah, Coulthard then ahead, and Ralf Schumacher is fifth. Where did Montoya come out? We think fifth, James.
I think between Coulthard and Ralf Schumacher, because Ralf Schumacher's 4.1 seconds behind Coulthard on the racetrack. Haven't seen a wide shot yet that would tell us that, as Michael Schumacher just pulls another one of those tear-off strips off his visor. Little plastic film that they put on top of the visor just allows them to clear off the oil and the dirt that collects. They have 4 or 5 of them at the beginning of the race and work their way through them, just ripping them off just to make sure they've always got clear vision. Michael Schumacher got 21 laps to go. He wants to be able to see as clearly as he possibly can. And he's leading Rubens Barrichello by 9 seconds. And Montoya, just waiting to see exactly where Montoya rejoined. Coulthard, of course, still has to stop again. Ralf Schumacher has gone strongly. There's McLaren getting ready to presumably to receive, well, definitely to receive David Coulthard. Mika Häkkinen, of course, being out of the race.
Yes, indeed. Coulthard is in pit lane. Last time around, he was speeding in the pit lane. I'm assuming it's on the entry there, because there is a point where they have to hit the button. I can't understand how otherwise it could have been. He could have been caught for speeding, unless he just released the button a little bit too early at the end, or the software did not maintain the speed that it needs, but I suspect it would have been on the way in. And then Coulthard joining right behind Irvine, and Irvine is yet to stop again, but that's certainly Coulthard needs to clear quite quickly that Jaguar, unless otherwise he's going to be heavily compromised. I think Coulthard will be having a big stab up the inside here, and Irvine then going way too deep on the brakes. So
I think it's De La Rosa, actually. I think it's Pedro De La Rosa in 19th place, because Eddie Irvine must be right at the other side of the racetrack from him. I think that might well be Pedro De La Rosa, still tooling around in 19th place. He had a little problem on the parade lap. We thought he'd gone out of the race, but he has still been going out there. So he moved out of the way anyway, saw the blue flags, which if it was Eddie Irvine would be very unlikely to have done that, because he's on the same lap as David Coulthard. So, Michael Schumacher leading after 52 laps from Rubens Barrichello in second place. 7.8 seconds the margin there. Ralf Schumacher in third place, 9.9 seconds behind, and not really on the same pace as Rubens Barrichello, who's certainly the fastest man on the racetrack at the moment. Of course, he will not be probably allowed to have a go at his team leader, Michael Schumacher. And Montoya pulling off the racetrack. Yet another retirement for the Colombian. Looks like some smoke coming out of the back of that BMW engine.
What a shame then. Montoya had regained fourth position. Barrichello's up there in second, followed by Ralf Schumacher. Then it was this man, Montoya, followed by Coulthard, but clearly some kind of engine drama, we would imagine. And we saw a little bit of blue smoke, but nothing at the moment.
No, the smoke seems to have stopped. I saw a flick of flame just underneath, so it probably isn't engine related, but when Montoya made that stop there, so we don't know what's put Montoya out of the race, but that's changed the complexion of it slightly. It's good news for David Coulthard, who was in 5th place behind him and is now promoted up to 4th place. That'll give him an extra World Championship point, but he really needs Michael Schumacher to have some sort of misfortune if he's really to capitalise here this afternoon.
According to information I'm getting up from the pit lane, we're saying the big question is, has Barrichello got to stop again? From the pit lane, we're hearing he has got to stop. So maybe that second place of his is still under pressure at the moment. So, as you said, good news for Coulthard and good news for Ralf Schumacher too, if that is the case.
Yes, Ralf Schumacher will move up into second place. He's only 11 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello, but David Coulthard responding as Juan Montoya waves to the crowd. Very disappointed, I would imagine. He's led this race twice this afternoon. He's had a good weekend. Once again, acquitted himself very well indeed, Juan Montoya. Worked methodically with his team. Had some warnings from the Williams team not to be too aggressive. Got himself into fights with Jacques Villeneuve and various other people. They've said, take it easy, Juan. And since then, he's been very mature last 2 Grand Prix.
No doubt about it. Solid drives from Montoya. Coulthard then getting a sniff of yet another podium this year. He's heard about Montoya, he's seen the Montoya incident, and he will also be getting information about Barrichello's situation. And Coulthard with a new lap record of a 1:16.008, and the Ferrari mechanics underneath it are ready for, we are sure, Barrichello for what will be his third stop of the afternoon. How is it going to shake out? It's going to be very close between Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, and a little bit further down the road, though, David Coulthard.
It takes 21 seconds to make a pit stop to come in and get back out again. Here is Rubens Barrichello. He was, well, he's probably going to be passed by Ralf Schumacher, but can he get out in front of David Coulthard? That's the big question. A fantastic stop by the Ferrari mechanics, 7.7 seconds. Lots of action and life, as you can see in the pit lane. Where is David Coulthard? As Juan Montoya watches Barrichello rejoining, where is David Coulthard?
It's a great TV shot, isn't it? One driver walking back to the pits as one of his main rivals streams out alongside him back onto the racetrack to complete the afternoon, and that's the 8th non-finish of the season for Montoya, and Barrichello does indeed keep third place, it would seem, at the moment, according to your screen. I think we saw Coulthard behind him.
Yeah, I think that's David Coulthard. There he is in the back of the picture. So Barrichello and Ferrari have gone very well indeed this afternoon. If you think about it, Martin, they qualified in 8th place with this car, and he's now 3rd. Coulthard qualified 4th and is now 4th.
Yes, but of course Coulthard with the stop-and-go penalty pretty much ruined his afternoon. But no doubt about it, Barrichello has made his 3-stopper work. He's made it work well. He used the light load at the beginning of the race, gained some places, charged when he had to charge, and making the best of Coulthard's misfortune. So where then is Ralf Schumacher going to be in all of this?
Well, we believe he's about 16 seconds behind his brother, who leads this race. Michael Schumacher then 16 seconds ahead of Ralf, with Barrichello in 3rd place, and this man will be kicking himself later this evening. David Coulthard will be kicking himself later this evening because, of course, he was right with Ralf Schumacher, in fact, challenging him for position. As Eddie Irvine there, it looks like a fair bit of hubble-bubble, toil and trouble coming out of his airbox. The marshal pointing to him. Irvine looking like he wanted to continue there, but that car is going nowhere fast.
Irvine will just be reporting back to the pits to tell them what happened and how it happened. So great afternoon for Eddie Irvine, though. Great drive there, and really pushing hard. And now you see the beginning of those engine problems as the pistons are meeting up with the valves, and all of the other bits and pieces start getting mixed in. The oil and water comes together, and then you see coming up through the trumpets and the airbox will be some flame as well for good measure, and that is the end of a very expensive engine.
Still never seen a blow-up quite as spectacular as the one you had there on the start line at Silverstone, with that Peugeot in the back of your McLaren, where the whole thing literally grenaded itself to bits.
Yeah, nearly barbecued everybody behind me, but no such problem there for anybody behind Eddie Irvine. But Barrichello has David Coulthard behind him. The gap 2.2 seconds last time around, and does Coulthard ever need those critical points? The World Championship is not looking strong this afternoon. Michael Schumacher sitting on 10 precious World Championship points at the moment, and Coulthard just on 3 at this time, so it's looking difficult, James.
Yes, it'll be a 32-point margin if it were to end this way. Coulthard needs every point he can get. He'll be desperate to get himself up into, well, 3rd place ideally. 2nd place might be possible as well. There's 15 laps to go in this motor race. You're looking at the 2nd place man, Ralf Schumacher, who turned 26 yesterday, started this race on pole position, hoping for a victory. At the moment, a victory seems unlikely. I think the story from him, when we speak to him after the race, will be that the tyres just let him down slightly at the end. And Luis Goodman is with his teammate Juan Montoya.
Oh, Juan Montoya, bad luck. We saw a little puff of smoke out of the back of the car there. Was it an engine problem?
Yeah, it was a bit of an engine problem. A bit disappointed, but that's racing. I'm pretty pleased with the performance of the car in the race, because we did a big sacrifice just to then qualifying, going with the harder tire. I thought we could have had a shot of a pole if we would have been on the sub one, but we thought it was better for the race. I was running 2nd again, and it happened.
Well done.
Thanks.
Yeah, that shows a lot of confidence, James, doesn't it? When you choose a harder tyre, you know you're going to look slower than your teammate. You know you may compromise yourself in qualifying generally, and you need a lot of confidence to say, OK, I'll take that because I believe that is the right way to go.
Well, I don't think Juan Montoya has ever lacked confidence. Certainly one of the most self-confident swaggerers I've ever met. in Formula One. And Michael Schumacher leading this race. There's Coulthard. Monstering Rubens Barrichello, though. Barrichello must have run wide in that hairpin. We came quite late to that shot, Martin, but this is David Coulthard crawling all over the back now of Rubens Barrichello, and this is for a final podium position.
Yes, indeed. Coulthard's been about 3/4 of a second a lap faster than Barrichello through these previous few turns. He's also made up a lot of time. We saw Barrichello out braking himself into the hairpin, and we know that Coulthard has a lot of confidence when it comes to passing Barrichello in the Ferrari. We've seen him do it several times, not least in Melbourne earlier this year. And last year here, Coulthard was trying to pass Ferraris every which way, but will he be able to stay close enough in the dirty air of that long, long Estoril turn 2 corner? But at the moment, he's clearly got a speed advantage over the line then, and it's 0.6 of a second according to the computer. David Coulthard wants yet another podium.
Yes, he's very, very hungry indeed. Of course, casting your mind back 12 months, he did in fact pass Rubens Barrichello here. Off the start line, Barrichello got in front of him, and Coulthard passed him just coming up to the corner now where he did it last year. And of course, it was the same corner, that hairpin, where he later on put that extremely bold move on Michael Schumacher, which got him the lead and ultimately the victory. It was a wonderful performance 12 months ago from David Coulthard, and he's really alive now. He wants every point he can get, and he's right on the gearbox of this Ferrari, which seems to have just dropped off the pace slightly. Rubens Barrichello now circulating 6 or 7/10 of a second slower than he was before, and slower than his main rivals, particularly in the slow corners. That's where he seems to be struggling. David did as well there from the looks of things.
Yeah, there was a puff of blue smoke out the back of that, but it was the left front was locked up, and then the smoky air going through the Venturi. So Coulthard braking very late into 180 and braking too late in the end, and Barrichello then keeping at that margin at the moment.
Yes, without the stop-and-go penalty, of course, Coulthard would have been second. He knows that, we know that, you all know that at home as well. What can he do? 12 laps remaining to put the situation right.
Well, if this was Speedway, you'd say it was team riding now, wouldn't you? And Barrichello then clearly has got a job to do to keep points away from David Coulthard. But he's got his own job to do as well, because if the race finishes like this, Ralf Schumacher passes Barrichello for 3rd place in the World Drivers' Championship. So Barrichello needing those points for himself too right now.
There's an awful lot at stake here this afternoon. We're in the meat of the season, this middle phase of the Formula One Championship, as Coulthard comes very close up behind Rubens Barrichello again. Both of these cars seem to be struggling to get any kind of grip through the slower corners, and it really has been a race that's been eating away at the tyres. What's going to happen in the closing stages? Bridgestone, of course, supplying both of these two drivers. There's Ron Dennis, the boss of the McLaren team. What will he be thinking, do you think, this afternoon? Apart from Martin, obviously, apart from the stop-and-go penalty, Coulthard would clearly have been in 2nd place today. Wasn't really on the pace of Michael Schumacher.
No, I think they've been better than they were last weekend. I think they took a bit of satisfaction from that, but he's going to be thinking one car didn't start the race and the other car with a pit lane speed limit. It's trivial stuff, a lot of it. It's not about, you know, a performance issue is one thing and trivial stuff's another. So not a great day for McLaren, but I think they'll take a bit of heart from improved performance, certainly compared to Nürburgring last weekend.
Yes, they were 8/10 off the pace in qualifying at Nürburgring last Sunday. This weekend, just 2/10 off the pole. It's a big improvement from the McLaren team, for whom qualifying really has been their Achilles heel so far this season. But that gap now seeming to open out a little bit between Barrichello and Coulthard as they go down the back straight.
Yeah, Coulthard is not as fast through that critical turn 2. Look, he's much, much faster under braking, although you do tend to get the yo-yo effect in there, the piano accordion effect, and as the car in front gets on the power earlier, opens the gap back up again. But Coulthard is much, much faster under brakes into the Adelaide hairpin. Can he get anywhere near him to have a go?
Well, we've got 11 laps left. Michael Schumacher is 16 seconds ahead of his brother Ralf. Barrichello 3rd, Coulthard 4th. This is the battle. Trulli 5th and Heidfeld in 6th place. A lot more still to come. the closing stages then of the French Grand Prix. This is lap 63. Michael Schumacher leading. There he is from Ralf Schumacher. You just saw a quick glimpse of Jenson Button, who is in 12th place, a little bit better for the Englishman than before, but unfortunately for him, still behind his teammate Giancarlo Fisichella, and now the margin 24 seconds between the two of them. So once again, Fisichella has conquered Button. But nobody has conquered this man, Martin. Michael Schumacher, another flawless drive from him, really, and just like the Nürburgring last weekend, you have to say he's taken all the pressure that everybody's thrown at him. Didn't start this race, of course, from pole position. His brother did, but he's managed to get the lead, and he's kept it.
Yeah, but it's different to last weekend, James. He won last weekend's race by somehow grabbing pole, then controlling the early stages and making sure his brother didn't pass him. He did not have the fastest car last weekend. This weekend he has had the fastest car, and that's why he's winning this race so effortlessly. This will be the half-century up if he gets over the line. This will be his 50th Grand Prix win for Michael Schumacher, and he's making it look extremely easy. Barrichello is, well, Ralf is 15.6 seconds behind him, Barrichello a further 5.6, and Coulthard remains less than 1 second behind Barrichello, holding down 4th place, truly 5th. Heidfeld in the final point-scoring position in 6th. Your retirees are Irvine, broken engine, Montoya, broken engine, and Bernaldi, he just stopped on the side of the track. Villeneuve, electrical problems. Hakkinen did not start the race.
Yes, Michael Schumacher, as you say, Martin, if he wins here, that'll be his 50th Grand Prix victory, and it'll set him up, of course, for Silverstone in 2 weeks' time, where he can equal Alain Prost's all-time record of 51 Grand Prix victories. Very appropriate if he did it at Silverstone. But all that lying in the future. Alain Prost, of course, this weekend asked the question inevitably, how do you feel about Michael Schumacher closing in on your record? He said, well, first of all, it's inevitable. He is one of the all-time greats, if not the best driver, and I'm only too happy for him to pick up the mantle and take on the records. I think by the time Schumacher winds up his career, whether it's 2004 when his current Ferrari contract expires or whether he goes on beyond that, fair to expect that he will have wrapped up all of the great records that there are for a Grand Prix driver. This, though, the battle between the final podium position between Rubens Barrichello and David Coulthard, just 9/10 of a second in it, and they've only got 8 laps to go if one of them is going to get onto the podium.
So traffic ahead of them, but the problem with the blue flag situation these days is everybody has to leap out of the way at the first opportunity, and we don't really see lead drivers having to really work the traffic these days. It's a skill that we used to have. Now they just literally spring out of the way at the first opportunity, otherwise they get penalised. And it's a shame in many ways, because for me, negotiating back markers is a main skill of being a Grand Prix driver. But nonetheless, I guess we see some cleaner and clearer races, some true head-to-heads in other respects.
I suppose you'd call that progress, because I remember in the days of you and Senna and Mansell and Piquet and all that, almost every race there was talk about back markers not getting out of the way properly. Blue flags had been waved, hadn't been responded to. And nowadays, as you say, they just jump out of the way like frightened jackrabbits.
Yes, indeed, but that's the regulations and you can't fight them. But I was just thinking, you know, Coulthard's best chance of getting past Barrichello looks like it's going to be in the back markers. He's simply not fast enough in turn 2 to use his braking advantage into turn 3. In the dirty air that the Ferrari has finished with, and passes on in his direction as they, and look, Coulthard, then they've cleared that back marker now. We've just picked that shot up, unfortunately, and it hasn't quite paid off, but that is where he's going to find his way past Rubens Barrichello for that final podium slot, which what would be his 7th podium of the year. David Coulthard, once again, just locking the inside left slightly. Barrichello under pressure.
Yes, it's been a year of strong race performances from David Coulthard. 2 victories, as you say, 7 podiums. Qualifying has been the problem for McLaren. They've not been able to get the car working as well as they might when it's light with fuel on qualifying settings. Ferrari have had the edge, and latterly Williams too have had the edge. But Coulthard has gone very strongly indeed in the races, and now once again monstering Rubens Barrichello for position. And you talk about back markers and David Coulthard, of course, one's mind immediately turns back to Monaco, where he had a nightmare time trying to get past Enrique Bernaldi, held up for over 40 laps by the Arrows driver, and certainly didn't do him any favours on that day. Coulthard seemed reluctant to just jump in behind the back markers, behind the leaders, sorry, as they came through, to try and find a way past. Has he got any response then for Ferrari in the 6 laps that remain, David Coulthard?
Coulthard 20.8 seconds then off the leader, and as you said earlier on, that is going to be frustrating for David Coulthard. That stop and go penalty cost him significantly more than that, And of course, Michael Schumacher not under pressure up front at all, not pushing anywhere near his limits. So it's an unrealistic comparison in many respects, but it just shows you, I think, without that stop and go, what a difference it would have made to Coulthard's afternoon. And certainly would have been a really good battle between Ralf Schumacher and David Coulthard, one of which sadly we were robbed.
Yes, Coulthard would almost certainly have been in second place now, and perhaps even challenging Michael Schumacher as he was 12 months ago, but it wasn't to be from the start. Michael Schumacher got a great start. Mika Häkkinen, of course, didn't even take the start. All fairly close together, Ralf Schumacher, Michael Schumacher, Montoya and Coulthard in the opening stages. Rubens Barrichello very cleverly brought up into play by the Ferrari tacticians. They three stopped him, ran him light with fuel, and it worked brilliantly. Got Barrichello up from 8th place on the grid into 3rd place on the racetrack. It's been an afternoon of strategy, of tactics. It's been an afternoon of tyre performances. It's been an afternoon of unfortunate penalties for David Coulthard. I have to ask you, Martin, who is your driver of the day? Who's put in the star performance? A difficult one, I would say, to judge. What's your view?
Well, Michael's been cruising, hasn't he, and peerless, I think, this afternoon. I thought Montoya did a very solid job today. Montoya was looking strong, and I admire his courage to go a different way. So for me, Montoya's the driver of the day.
Also worth a mention, probably Rubens Barrichello, for the way that he stuck to Ross Brawn's strategy. And also, let's not forget, in 5th place and 6th place, we've hardly seen him this afternoon, Trulli and Heidfeld. Trulli, of course, in the Jordan, looking for his first points for 4 races, and Heidfeld, who is currently in front of both BAR and Jordan drivers in the World Championship, which is a great achievement for a Sauber driver. There's Michael Schumacher with just 4 laps to go, Martin.
And he's been told on his pit board to drop the revs. In other words, shift gears earlier. Don't look for the little red light to tell you to change gear. Not 400 or 500 RPM off the gear shift points, maybe even 1,000, and that's a huge difference. You know, the mechanical energy going through those engines at best part of 18,000 RPM. Just change gear 1,000 revs earlier, and you take a lot less effort from the engine to do that. But Michael then pretty much easy going for him at the front. And is this another opportunity for David Coulthard to have a stab to get closer to Barrichello? And yes, indeed it is. Barrichello went wide too. We've seen this a few times, haven't we? Coulthard drag racing out of Adelaide hairpin. That time around, it could not work. Barrichello having the wider line, able to get on the power slightly earlier. And, well, Coulthard there with just a sniff of that podium, but it wasn't enough, was it?
Absolutely fantastic little bit of action at the end of this Grand Prix. They're going to be squabbling over the final podium position right the way through to the flag. It's going to be a real grandstand finish between these two, both of them struggling clearly to get a lap time out of these very worn and very tired old Bridgestone tyres. And Rubens Barrichello, a slight lapse of concentration, just opened the door there for David Coulthard, and this feisty Scotsman, 30-year-old David Coulthard from Twineholme in Scotland. It's all he needed, just to have a bit of a go. Look how close they are. Wonderful shot there as they both get their pit boards, telling them, as if they needed telling, of how close they are on the racetrack to each other. One of the Benettons is just in front of them, and they're going to have to hurdle that one in the 3 laps remaining. And what's the outcome going to be? You can still see the back of that car just sliding around. They're really struggling for grip.
Yeah, they're earning the money out there this afternoon, James. This is a difficult and technical racetrack. The Benetton is in range, but not close enough for a stab under braking for Barrichello to clear it, and so they will have to pick him up maybe down at the 180 corner, somewhere like that, or even towards, let's see, that's Button, of course, he's doing 18.8s. Barrichello and Coulthard doing 17.7s, and the Button clearing out of the way immediately. Does he know that there's 2 cars? Yes, he does know there's 2 cars homing in on him. So Jenson Button taking himself completely out of the equation.
And of course, Ferrari will be on the radio to Rubens Barrichello, impressing upon him, as if he needed telling, the importance of keeping Coulthard behind him. This is the difference between keeping Coulthard over 30 points behind Michael Schumacher or under 30 points behind Michael Schumacher. It sounds like a lot with just 7 races left in this World Championship, and it is a lot. Schumacher feeling pretty comfortable at the top, and Ferrari do not want David Coulthard scoring any more points this afternoon than is absolutely necessary. Schumacher just a couple of laps away now from that tantalising 50th Grand Prix victory. Looking down the field, Ralf Schumacher, of course, still second. Barrichello and Coulthard we're seeing here, 3rd and 4th. Jarno Trulli, we've not really mentioned him much, but he's 5th, and Heidfeld is 6th in the Sauber. Kimi Räikkönen, another strong afternoon for him in the second of the two Saubers. He's running in 7th place. Heinz-Harald Frentzen has had all kinds of attentions from all kinds of people, many battles this afternoon, but it's not netted him anything really. He's down in 8th place. Olivier Panis is 9th, and Luciano Berti outperforming his teammate, the very experienced Jean Alesi. Luciano Berti is in 10th place with the two Benettons behind him of Fisichella and Button.
These two men then stopped 3 times this afternoon, 3 times scheduled stops for Barrichello for fuel and tyres. Coulthard one very unscheduled one for the extra. And Button then off the racetrack. Jenson Button appears to have spun out of the race. I think that's just residual smoke out of the engines there from the fact it's been switched off while it was in doing an awful lot of hard work. So final lap then, Michael Schumacher is on his final tour. I don't see anywhere now that Coulthard's going to have an opportunity to take that 3rd place. And we pick up then leader Michael Schumacher.
Yes, he's had a sensational season so far, 5 victories. He's averaging almost 7 points a race. And last year when he won the World Championship, he was averaging 6. So he's already well ahead of his own averages. He's breaking records left, right and centre. This is for his 50th career victory. And Michael Schumacher, where will it all end from him? A wonderful drive, managed to contain the threat from the BMW Williams team, managed to contain the threat also from McLaren, although of course we will wonder forever what would have happened if Coulthard hadn't had that stop-and-go penalty. Perhaps we would have had a repeat of the battle through Château d'Eau for the last time. Down towards the chicane comes Michael Schumacher. It's been a very familiar sight throughout the 2001 Grand Prix season. He's won 10 of the last 14. Michael Schumacher wins the French Grand Prix for Ferrari. Vive la différence. Well done, Michael. His team boss, Jean Todt, of course, will be very pleased. And here's the battle for the final podium place between Rubens Barrichello and David Coulthard. Ralf Schumacher has crossed the line in 2nd place. Barrichello gets 3rd, Coulthard gets 4th. We're waiting then for Jarno Trulli to come through in 5th place. And a great day for Ferrari's team boss, the Frenchman Jean Todt, the man who's done so much really to turn this team around. And he announced this weekend, incidentally, that he plans to retire at the end of 2004. And no one will criticise him for the amount of success that he's brought to Ferrari over the years. A great day for the men in red, Martin.
Yes, indeed. And Trulli then will go over the line. He's some 47 seconds behind Coulthard. Goes over the line for 2 World Championship points. And I think Eddie Jordan will be mighty relieved to score some more points in the Jordan team. They've had a rough run recently. Good news for Jordan then. Heidfeld taking another point for the Sauber team. So Ralf then up into 3rd place in the World Championship. We said, didn't we, earlier on in the programme that you can't discount Ralf Schumacher at the moment. Michael pulling away into the lead, but Ralf coming on very, very strong in the second half of the season.
Yes, indeed he is. Ralf Schumacher now on 31 World Championship points, just jumping ahead of Rubens Barrichello. There is Jean Todt. Well, there'll certainly be a lot of talk about him tomorrow in the French newspapers. And very, very happy man indeed. Presided over by far the most successful period in the history of the Ferrari Formula One team since he joined, coincidentally, the team back in 1993 at this very Grand Prix. This was his first appearance in the red with the prancing horse on his shirt. And here in Magny-Cours, look how happy he is. You don't see Jean Todt smiling very often, but he's smiling today, getting the congratulations of everybody in his team. So Michael Schumacher then, 78 World Championship points. As the smoke settles over Magny-Cours, a few donuts being turned, I think, by some drivers celebrating. But yes, Jean Alesi giving it the characteristic little bit of the old Valentino Rossi, the motorcycle racer, does something a bit similar to that whenever he wins. Alesi, of course, far from being a winner, down in 12th place, but he doesn't care. As he said earlier in the programme, he doesn't mind what the results are as long as he gives his emotions, and that's what he's doing here this afternoon.
The one that confuses me, James, is Della Rosa, who finished 14th. Remember, we saw him parked up on the green flag lap, parked on the side of the road, apparently out of the race. He finished the race in the end. I don't know how he got going again. Just 2 laps down, albeit last but 1.
There's confirmation of the result. You can see, in fact, pretty close at the end between Barrichello and Coulthard, but no way through for the Scotsman. And that means, I'm afraid, for David Coulthard that he's now 31 points behind Michael Schumacher, and that's a pretty tall order, isn't it, Martin, with just 7 races remaining in the World Championship?
It's very tall. It's not impossible. Of course, there's 70 points max available, but he needs Hakkinen up there helping him. He doesn't need the Williams team up there taking points away, and at the moment he could be using Williams to take points away from Ferrari if he had a faster car, if he was having a better run, but it's the other way around. Michael's able to not only beat the McLaren, he's able to put the Williams between him and those 2 silver cars as well, so Michael looking seriously strong.
Yes, the British Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time, of course. Coulthard was 1-2 on the row. He's going to need to win 3 in a row if he's going to get back on terms with this man, Michael Schumacher, and just look at the joy. Never, ever backward in coming forward to show his pleasure at a race victory, Michael Schumacher. I remember when he first came into this sport, he would bounce up and down whenever he got on the podium, and he's continued that sheer exuberance and joy right the way through his career. The 2 brothers there congratulating each other. Ralf Schumacher, well, he managed to get 2nd place. He salvaged 2nd place from what was a very difficult afternoon for BMW Williams. It was all about the tyres really here this afternoon. It was about managing them. It was about managing the race strategy. It was about driving the car to the maximum of what it would do at any time during the Grand Prix. And the Ferrari mechanics just celebrating with their 2 drivers as well. Rubens Barrichello looks quite pleased with himself, and you can't blame him because, of course, he did finish 3rd when he started 8th on the grid, and the technical director of Ferrari, Ross Brawn, is talking with Lewis Goodman.
He is indeed, James. Well done, Ross. Would you describe that as a classic tactical Ferrari victory?
It was pretty good. I mean, the first, and you never know where you are. And when Ralph came in when he did, again like Nürburgring, we knew we had a chance. And we went for a short middle stint to see if we could jump him, and we knew they perhaps only had 1 better set of tyres, which was the first set. So it worked out perfectly. Michael did his normal great job. So and Rubens did a fantastic job as well today. I mean, for a very difficult day yesterday, really he drove a perfect race today.
Thanks, Ross.
So even Ross Brawn is standing on the start line of these Grand Prix, not absolutely sure what everybody's doing. That's how tight and close it's getting out there, James. It really is a cat and mouse game at the moment. Once again, the Schumacher brothers are king of the castle. And how comfortable is it for Michael Schumacher? He's going to be on the podium, the top step, for the 50th time. To his left will be his brother, and to his right will be his teammate. That's a big comfort zone, isn't it?
Absolutely fantastic comfort zone, and nowhere to be seen will be his chief rival for the championship, David Coulthard. He'll be downstairs in the McLaren garage going through what happened with the speeding fine, of course, that he got. Stop-and-go penalty that really ruined his chances of 2nd place here this afternoon. It's all gone according to plan for Michael Schumacher, and although we've seen him on the top step of the podium many times this season, we can't underline enough just how competitive Formula 1 racing has become this season. Let's not forget that going into today's race, a 2nd separated the top 8 in qualifying. 4 different chassis up there, 2 different tyre makers. We've got plenty more of that to come in the remainder of the 2001 Grand Prix season. Michael Schumacher looking pretty comfortable, though, at the top of the championship. Can David Coulthard mount a challenge at Silverstone, his home race in 2 weeks' time? Everybody trying to get the good news back to Maranello. We have won, they're saying.
You're on telly, they're saying. Somebody said, you're on telly.
Yes, the church bells, of course, are rung after every victory by the local priest in Maranello, the base where Ferrari come from. There's Jean Todt just celebrating, in the team, as you can see, very, very happy. They've got used to winning now. I remember a time not long ago, Martin, when you were racing against them, when Ferrari had lost the winning way, and they've very much discovered it now, haven't they?
I remember lapping a Ferrari at Silverstone in a Ligier. That's how bad it became for them. They really were in the doldrums in the early 90s, and even with Jean Todt and Ross Brawn and co, it took a while to get that flywheel turning again, but right now nobody can stop that flywheel from turning, even Williams with a superb car. Michael Schumacher then very much enjoying what was a solid afternoon's work for him, wasn't it?
Certainly was. The German national anthem will be coming up shortly for Michael Schumacher, who is literally on top of the world.
Victoire.
Michael Schumacher there, just chatting a little bit through his own national anthem. And now the Italian anthem in honour of the winning constructor, Ferrari. Well, some rather sour-faced critics back in Italy criticising Michael Schumacher whenever he conducts his mechanics, who always love vociferously to sing the Italian national anthem. I think it's a good idea for him to do it, but some people back in Italy find it patronising, so he's stopped. But there he is, collecting the trophy. He's got one or two of those in the cabinet back at Vaucluse in Switzerland, where he now lives. And once again, he finds himself on the podium with his brother Ralph. And there is the winning constructor trophy being presented to Rubens Barrichello's race engineer, curiously enough, who finds himself up on the podium collecting this one.
Yes, that's Michael's 92nd trophy for being on the podium in Grand Prix racing. Ralph then taking second place today. I think he'd be moderately disappointed, actually, James.
Yes, although relieved, of course, at what happened to Coulthard, because otherwise he would have been behind him. So 6 more solid points for Ralf Schumacher and more solid points from Rubens. Be careful, Rubens, it's made of glass, don't drop it. So, Martin, a very good afternoon's work by Ferrari.
No doubt about it, James, and we're heading off to Silverstone, of course. Can Schumacher do it again? Can Coulthard stop him?
Well, 50 up for Michael Schumacher. He's taken a big step this afternoon towards his 4th world title at the Champagne Flow in the home of Champagne here in France.
Thanks very much indeed, James. Our thanks to Martin as well. We're going to hear from Michael Schumacher, Schumacher brothers and Rubens Barrichello. We hope to have a word with David Coulthard as well. Tony Jardine will pinpoint the key points of the French Grand Prix. You want a frightening thought? Ross Brawn telling us before the race the best of Michael Schumacher is still to come.
The perfect result for you, not only your 50th win, but you have your brother alongside you on your podium and your teammate. Ralf Schumacher, second place, and Rubens Barrichello in third. Michael, quite a surprising win, not because you were slow on the track, but before the race, Ross Brawn said to us that you had a clutch problem on the grid. Did it affect you at all?
I would say yes. I mean, almost lost the position against David. We came very close in the first corner. I was inside, he was outside, so I kept it going until we see what happened in turn 3. But he pulled off already in turn 1, so the line was clear. But it was quite close. I mean, very close to lose it. And imagining being behind him and then working with the strategy would have been far more difficult. So it was ideal to be behind Ralf, although he was very fast in his first stint. And then we all know what happened.
Now, Ralf came in for his first pit stop ahead of you. Then you came in and you came out ahead because Ralf seemed to have a problem. Did you have any problems thereafter? Because you looked as though you had the race under control.
I think our strategy worked better, honestly. It wasn't because Ralf had a problem, I guess, at least, from what I've seen. Because they stayed out longer, to my view, so it means more fuel, longer pit stop, and we a bit shorter. My second set was really very good. I was really flying. I did have a little bit of a problem with my third set. I wasn't as fast anymore as I was with my second. So we will find out what's going on there. But anyway, it's the perfect result, as you said before. In Canada, we had 1-2, Ralf, myself, and now we have 1-2, myself and Ralf. And Rubens next to us. A bit unexpected, I guess, for Rubens, coming from where he came. We did a perfect race. So obviously for Ferrari, a very good day.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Michael. Ralf, as we just mentioned before, you seem to have a problem with the changing of one of your rear wheels at the first stop.
Yeah, they had a pit stop problem. That's why we lost the position, I guess, in first place. But in the second stint, my set didn't work at all. So, I mean, I was so slow, really. I was losing everything, and I had to come in earlier than expected. So I couldn't... If I would have come out in front of Michael, I think it would have been very difficult to hold him behind me. So, I mean, I can be actually happy to sit here in second today, because it was a disaster and really difficult to drive.
You were running a different set of tactics to your teammate Juan Pablo Montoya. Did he only manage to get close to you because you had this problem with your second set of tyres?
Yeah, I'm sure, because in the first stint I went away on him, was just the second stint. I mean, shame that he had a technical problem. I don't know what he had, but otherwise he would have finished even in front of me, I guess.
Okay, thank you very much, Ralf. Rubens, you started 8th on the grid. You managed to pass both of the Jordans on the first lap. Obviously, Mika Häkkinen didn't get to take the start. Are you surprised, come the end of the race, you started 8th, you're up here in 3rd place?
Well, I guess a little bit, but in a way, you know, I sorted out my problems that I had yesterday on qualify. Qualify was horrible for me. I never really knew what was going on. The car was oversteering in some places, understeering in other places. This morning, the car felt a lot better. And I was going really well in my first stint, saving a lot of fuel at that time. And Ross came on the radio and said, "Would you like to try a 3-stop?" And I said, "I think so. It's a good idea, because you know then I can be quick on the track the whole time, and you know I might only doing 2 stops. I might only finish in front of the Jordan. So let's try." And I think it was a really good try, and you know I thank the team very much, because it was a hell of a race.
But when Ross Brawn made that decision, had David Coulthard come in for his stop-go penalty, because obviously that must have had an effect, because for the last 15 laps of the race you had to fight incredibly hard with David right behind you.
Well, I had my first 3 set of tires were really good. The last one, I think I've blistered the rears so early, and that was the problem. I couldn't brake for turn 5, and I was struggling a lot. I mean, a couple of times David almost just put the car alongside me, and but I was able to hold on, and I think, you know, starting from 8th, finishing 3rd is a good achievement.
Thank you very much, Rubens. Back to you, Michael. Silverstone, next stop, you have a 31-point advantage. Can you ever start to think about the possibility of winning a 4th World Championship?
Unfortunately for you guys, I'm a bit too realistic. We have seen last year, being thrown out by 2 races behind each other, how quickly things can turn around again. Although, you have to be honest, it's a very comfortable lead we're in now, but it's still 7 races to go, 70 points to give away, so there is no reason to start celebrating before it's done. and until mathematically nothing is secured, I will keep fighting as we have done today.
Michael, thank you very much. Now, if you'd like to go in your own languages, starting with Michael, please.
Tanto commercio! Questi ci mancano alla pelle, non li conosciamo ancora. Perché c'è tante donne da voi, no? No, qua che non le vedete.
Okay.
toch weer verder kan. Maar Frenz en Schumacher zijn geen vrienden. Montoya op dat moment aan de leiding. Maakt dan een pitstop, valt weer verder naar achteren en valt zelfs uit. Want de motor van de Williams wil niet meer. Helaas voor Montoya, hij had tweede kunnen worden achter deze Michael Schumacher. Die hier even voorwieltje blokkeert aan de linkerkant. Dan Eddie Irvine. Voor hem is het ook afgelopen. Kan zijn Jaguar aan de kant zetten. En hij gaat gewoon onverstoorbaar verder. Maar alweer zijn 6e seizoenzege. Mooi gevecht nog even tussen Coulthard en Rubens Barrichello. Met als inzet de 3e plaats. Maar Coulthard komt er niet voorbij. Hij moet genoegen nemen met de 4e plaats die recht geeft op 3 punten. Kijk, dit was het moment waarop het misschien gekund had. Maar Barrichello blijft er net voor. Michael Schumacher wint. Ralf Schumacher wordt tweede. Barrichello derde. David Coulthard vierde. Jarno Trulli vijfde. En Nick Heidfeld zesde. En dus viert Ferrari feest. Gisteren pole position voor Ralf. Vandaag de zege voor Michael Schumacher. Het kan niet op in de familie Schumacher. Kushandje van Jean Todt. En hij koestert zijn 3e plaats. Mooie opsteker voor Rubens Barrichello. En dan is het weer het champagnebal onder leiding van Michael Schumacher. Die een nat pak haalt door toedoen van broertje Ralf. Applaus voor de nummers 1, 2 en 3. Michael, Ralf en Rubens Barrichello. Schumacher wint voor Schumacher en Barrichello dus op de 3e plaats. Dat is de uitslag van de grote prijs van Frankrijk. Over 2 weken zien we elkaar terug. Dan zijn we in Engeland in Silverstone. Ik dank u voor het kijken. Tot dan.
And you're back with us at Manicourt. Let me just confirm the result for you of the French Grand Prix. 10 out of 10. Michael Schumacher, 6 for the pole sitter Ralf Barrichello, second Ferrari driver on the podium. David Coulthard just failing to get up there. Truly getting a couple for Jordan and Nick Heidfeld, another point for Sauber. And 10 rounds gone. And Michael Schumacher now leads David Coulthard by 31 points. Ralf Schumacher a point ahead of Rubens Barrichello now in 3rd place. Montoya is 5th. We can go straight down to Louise Goodman, who's talking to David Coulthard.
David, the look on your face kind of says it all. That stop-go penalty cost you dear.
Yeah, at the moment I'm not sure whether it was on the way into the pit lane or the way out. I was very surprised when I got the call, but you know, obviously I did speed, so you have to pay the penalty.
You didn't give up though. I mean, you kept going at Rubens at the end of the race. Did you think you could get past him, or were you just trying to hound him into a mistake?
I thought that was the most likely scenario because I couldn't actually get close to him out of any of the corners, and he was always quick through turn 3. So it was only under braking at the hairpin that I had an advantage, and unfortunately with his speed through turn 1, 2 and 3, I was never really close enough to make an attempt.
The gap to Michael obviously getting a bit bigger now. Is the job still achievable though?
Yeah, I think that all we can do is wait to the end of the season and review where things are, rather than trying to guess what's happening during the course of the season. You know, it's entirely feasible he could not finish a few races.
And it's entirely feasible that you could do well at Silverstone too, because that's always been a good race for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, we've won the last couple of years, and it'd be great to have a win in home trial again this year.
Thanks for talking to us, David.
David Coulthard with Louise Goodman, a 3rd successive win at Silverstone would do absolutely fine. He does need it, doesn't he, Tony? But I mean, just looking at him there, he was downbeat, he was a bit deflated, and he would know that that 10-second penalty that he picked up here is a major slap in the face for him.
It is a big slap in the face for him and for McLaren as well. He is coming into pits now. What we're talking about here is, did he press the button in time when he came over into pits? Is it a software problem linked to not bringing the speed down sufficiently as the car goes out? Because they tell them over the radio to put it out, the flap comes out, the light goes on and off. Now we can't see the light going on and off there at the back of the car. So there is a possibility that it was some software problem, because potentially Häkkinen had a software problem on the grid as well. What we all thought with this succession of failures to get off the grid earlier in the year, that this was linked just to the launch control. But in fact, Adrian Newey told us that it was the engine software itself, the program that switched the engine off.
He wasn't even sure there whether he was done for speeding going in or coming out of the pit lane.
No. So, and that won't be cleared up for some while. But, you know, it's a very, very expensive mistake, and there's been these little niggling problems for McLaren this year. And I'd just like to add my comment, say we have been robbed a couple of times of potential battles. The other one was at Monte Carlo, and if you remember David thumping his fists on the steering wheel, went and ended up having to follow Bernaldi around, but he still got points.
He still got points. It meant an extra stop for him. He had to stop 3 times. So did Rubens Barrichello. And I remember last year he managed to get past the Brazilian, and David almost did it again this time. Couldn't quite manage to get on the podium, could he?
He couldn't quite manage to get on the podium, and this is Barrichello's third place, by the way. Look, and that's Barrichello running wide there. And David must have thought, right, I'm in here, it's a chance. These two have battled at the British Grand Prix. These two have battled in the British Formula 3 Championship, you know, back in '91. They know each other very well. They're used to battling together wheel to wheel, and they give each other just about enough space. It's a nice, safe battle, but unfortunately, DC not on the podium.
Absolutely. We can go to the press conference now. We can hear from Rubens Barrichello, we can hear from Ralf, and we can hear from Michael Schumacher.
Finishing third is a good achievement.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one, Rubens. It means another good day for Ferrari. They are now, what is that, 52 points clear of McLaren. Williams 13 behind McLaren now in that clear third place. Sauber still a point ahead of Jordan and BA Honda. BA Honda are in 6th place. Back with you in a moment to complete our coverage of the French Grand Prix. Hello once again from Manicourt. Tony, let's go back to the start of the race. We were all wondering if there's going to be a bit of payback time. Ralf against Michael Schumacher. And he was reasonably uneventful, I guess, but Ralf got away very well, didn't he?
He did get away very well. He said, I owe my brother one, but in the end he didn't need it because it just revealed in the press conference there was a slight problem with the clutch, and Michael was certainly slow away there, nearly got swamped by the pack. That's evidently why David Coulthard got alongside him there, but had to pull off. Let's look again. Schumacher, Michael on the left, but he still does. He just moves across onto the inside as well on Coulthard. Nearly gave him the squeeze there you saw from the aerial view. And David doing very well just to stay out of trouble and not bash wheels with him. God, he's so aggressive off the start, Michael Schumacher. Especially if something goes wrong, he'll steer across to them as well.
That's absolutely right. Let's go to the pit stops, and the Williams crew had a bit of trouble, didn't they, with one of Ralph's tyres, although Ralf didn't seem to think that was a crucial aspect of the race.
Well, it's the right rear that we've got to watch here at the back. The fuel hose there is still on at this time. We're up to about 7.8. The hand is just up. Yeah, it was just a bit slow by about a couple of seconds to the back, but that can be the heat, you know, generated by that particular tyre on that particular corner. And the lap afterwards, in comes Michael, and it's a very short, sharp stop, 7.7, fabulous from Ferrari, and they're so well drilled and well ordered. And he gets out ahead of his brother. And as things stacked up, that really played very, very well into the hands of Ferrari. And we had the master tactician, Ross Brawn, himself up here earlier on. He wasn't giving anything away, but he was quite confident.
Ralphie said his tyres didn't work too well after that, and he was quite happy to get that second place. 3 different leaders of the race. We thought it could be Juan Pablo Montoya's day, but another DNF for the Colombian.
Yeah, you know, it's a strange one, this, because BMW haven't had an engine failure this year. There have been hydraulics failures, like in Austria and like in Australia, but it is very rare, obviously, for BMW to have a failure, and they've done a super job on that engine. But he went on the harder tyres, and he stuck out there, and I must give full credit to Juan Pablo, because he's been building, so he's taking the aggression out these days, and he's trying to learn more about Formula One.
I think DNF did not finish. That applies to Eddie Irvine as well. He certainly had his moments in the race, though, and here he is chatting to Kevin Piper.
Well, Eddie, hard lines in the end, but what a strong run.
No, it's great. I have more fun. This is the slowest car I've probably ever had for qualifying, but it makes the racing interesting. You're always coming up through, and you know, we've great tyres, and that's what I think what's making our qualifying performances a bit weaker, because I think the Bridgestone's aiming more for qualifying, and the Bridgestone guys are getting ahead of us in qualifying, and in the race we're much quicker, but we got to overtake them. But it makes for great racing, but it's hard work.
But in the end,
it's
It's going to be hard work for David Coulthard to pull it back, but Silverstone next time round, he'll be pleased about that anyway.
I think there'll be fabulous support there. You're going to see the Soltars out there, you're going to see the Union Jacks, and everyone should really get behind David Coulthard, because that will really give McLaren and himself a big lift. And if he can get the treble, that'll be the first time since Jim Clark that a British driver will have done that. And why not? He's been excellent at Silverstone over the last couple of years.
Good, Tony, thank you very much indeed. So next stop, Silverstone it is. Martin Brundle and all of us are very pleased that we're back there in mid-July.
This beautiful lineup of Formula One transporters breaks away now and moves to Silverstone for the next Grand Prix. We'd love to see you there. You must come and see a Formula One car driven in anger. If not, watch us on F1 ITV.
Yep, we're live with qualifying 12:30 on the Saturday. Our race coverage starts at midday on the Sunday. Coulthard going for that hat-trick.
Hi, this is David Coulthard from the West McLaren Mercedes team. Make sure you're watching the Silverstone British Grand Prix here on F1 ITV. ITV F1, F1 ITV.
Same difference, David. Don't worry about it. It's going to be Murray Walker's commentary farewell to Silverstone. We're expecting all sorts of Murray-themed banners. We have a prize for the best one on the Saturday and the Sunday. Get riding, get thinking. Okay, highlights 10 o'clock ITV2 tonight, 20 past midnight on this channel. Repeated ITV2, 7:30 tomorrow. No encore for David Coulthard in France. Grand Prix victory number 50 for Michael Schumacher. One more and he equals Alain Prost's all-time record. We will see you at Silverstone. Bye-bye.
You retire? Engine, we had a problem with the engine. It's a bit disappointed, but you know, it's been performing really well all weekend, and it really paid off what we did with the tires.
How close have you been to victory? What do you think?
It's been getting closer, but you know, when it's time, it'll come.
An earlier stop from Ralph could have had been a big help for you.
A little bit. I lost a couple of seconds with Ralph there, but you know, it's racing.
Thank you. Obviously disappointed, and I have to start with the penalty from your point of view.
Well, you're here a little bit quick for us. I don't understand whether it was on the entry to the pit lane or the exit that I was speeding, so I need to have a little look at the data. But obviously the rules are the rules, and if I was above the limit, then you know, we paid a penalty.
It doesn't help, but I think you were pretty competitive.
Yeah, I think that with track position, we had a good opportunity to try and race to overtake people. It was very difficult, but anyway, it's academic today. We finished 4th.
In reality, how big was the step back in the championship?
I don't know. We can review that once we see the end of the season, but at this point in the year, no one can judge.
Thank you.
Okay, he's with me. Do you want to come to me now? Just start. Quick as you can. Yes, I have Mika with me now. Mika, I know you're not able to tell us exactly what happened, but just tell us the thoughts that went through your mind when you stopped.
Mika, was ist passiert?
Well, I think simply it's just what's going on in my mind that time. You know, it's like feeling like you cannot believe it. You can't believe how bad luck I had that kind of situation. You know, when engine started, I thought everything is fine, and then suddenly stopped. And I just sat there, and the team mechanics tried to do everything to make the car to start again. So I was super disappointed, but I walked away again and said, well, just have to look the future and try to still to look very positive, you know.
After such a frustrating season so far, Mika, is it something you really waiting for October to start on the next season?
definitely this season has been a very disappointing. So I'm sure the future is definitely is in my mind.
Thank you. Jack, you look pretty competitive. So what was it today?
Yeah, the car was sliding a lot, but was quick, surprisingly. But then, I don't know, something electrical, the car just switched off.
You think there's still light in the end of the tunnel?
I hope so.
Thanks. Patrick, at the end, second position, but I think close to victory. So what went wrong at the end, not to win here?
Well, we lost the lead in effect at the first pit stop. We had a problem at the first pit stop, and then I haven't spoken to Ralph since, but he wasn't very quick on the second set of tyres. And anyway, second place is better than out, but pity about Juan Pablo's situation, otherwise he would have been very close in there as well.
You had a little discussion with Ralph, I think, on the radio for the second pit stop. Can you tell us about it?
I didn't. No, I don't talk to the driver directly. It's all done from the pit wall by either Sam Michael or Craig Wilson, his engineer. So, no, there was no great discussion at the second pit stop.
So whose decision was it to do the second pit stop at this time of the race?
It was the team, really, because we certainly asked him to come in because he was going very slowly. Juan was behind him, able to go a lot quicker, and it wasn't so much that we were worried about Juan's position, but Barrichello and Coulthard, by Ralph having a problem and going so slowly, it was pulling both of our cars back into Barrichello and Coulthard's clutches. So we decided that it was in the best interest for our team generally to call Ralph in.
I mean, it's over now, but just guess if Ralph would have been in a bit more. Was there a real chance for Juan to win today?
Well, certainly Michael seemed to be slowing up a bit at the end. I suspect they may have had some temperature problems or something like that. He was certainly taking it quite easy, but yes, it's always a factor, but you know, both guys are there to race and make the best of their equipment. Yeah.
So at the moment, how would you see the gap between Ferrari and you?
Well, I mean, again, phenomenal reliability from Ferrari that they achieve, and it's showing up in the points they have in the Constructors' Championship relative to everybody else. And, you know, we've still got to be a little way to go before we can achieve their level of competitiveness and reliability.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Loro sono più bravi. Come le radio. Einmal Gratulation. Ja, was heißt das jetzt für Sie? Das heißt, dass es
Just a second like that. No, that's the team. Michael, please. Come my son, please. Thank you very much. You are great. Great champion. Nice. Take it easy. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Give a little bit of this race, guys. Yeah, you too.
I was quite happy seeing Ruben third. I mean, it was quite an exciting race.
Was it the first quick pit stop?
Yes, I mean, that was a crucial one, and we knew Ralph had a very good set of first tyres. We knew their tyres were good when they were scrubbed. We hoped they'd have a good second set, which is what happened. So this middle stint was a crucial stint. Michael knew it, and as always, he did business.
Whose decision was it to doing the quick stop?
The team's decision.
And at the moment when Juan Pablo was holding up by Ralph, was it crucial for you?
Yes, I mean, I could see a lot of activity in the Williams pit, so they were obviously trying to decide what to do, but it helped, sure. But I don't think the gap was that significant in the end.
Coulthard's penalty, a big step in the championship?
Well, it didn't help him, that's for sure.
Thanks.
Dateli sopra. Aveva appena pulito la macchina.
Jusqu'à maintenant, tout le monde est en pleine contention. Extérieur, pole position, la BMW Williams de Ralph Schumacher, intérieur, la Ferrari.
looks like something is seized.
At the start there, what broke on the car? Was it the drive shaft?
Really don't know, you know, the team tried to start the car. They were trying to start it, but it just didn't, engine didn't even spin, didn't even roll some reason. Something has broken inside inside somewhere, it didn't start.
It's not your year. Very bad luck, Mika. Bobby Rahal, it looked as though we'd lost Pedro de la Rosa from the race on the parade lap. Now he's still running. What happened?
Just an electrical glitch, apparently, but they recycled the MCU, I think, and it just came back. Everything's fine. Unfortunately, he's a lap down.
Thank you. Tough luck. Jack, what was the problem?
The car just switched off, basically. I'm not sure why.
No warning, just kaput?
Yeah, suddenly.
Tough luck, Jack. Thank you. Juan Pablo, great race. What happened?
I think we had a problem with the engine. Just lost power and died.
Now, you ran a very different tactic at the start of the race to Ralph. Was that something you decided before the race, or the team just decided as the race went on?
But, you know, we're in different strategies, running different tires, so, you know, we knew we were going to be quicker than him in the race.
Tough luck.
And hello once again from Manicourt in rural central France, where Michael Schumacher, Ferrari's most successful driver of all time, has won this race for the 5th time in 8 years.
It is very satisfying, and it was hard work, in particular until the second pit stop. Very tough work, maximum performance. But then obviously it was a little bit more easygoing, except some communication problems because radio didn't work, and I didn't know until probably 15 laps to the end what was finally the positioning.
It was very tough for us because we had tire problems, especially I had on the second set especially. I mean, it was dog slow actually. That was the reason that I decided to come in a bit earlier as planned and to change the third set, and that went a bit better.
I'm very pleased. I think it's been a hell of a race. I think you know, it was the proof of yesterday that I wasn't happy. It was a little bit of a misunderstanding between myself and my engineers. We didn't get the maximum out of the car, and this morning the car felt a lot better. So it was only the case to not get in trouble at the first few laps and being just attack everywhere.
I've seen last year being thrown out 2 races behind each other, and you never know. Racing is a different story. It's a sport and it's unpredictable. It's a comfortable lead on the other side, but not done yet.
Well, Eddie, hard lines in the end, but what a strong run.
No, it's great. I have more fun. This is the slowest car I've probably ever had for qualifying, but it makes the racing interesting. You're always coming up through, and you know, with great tires, and that's I think what's making our qualifying performances a bit weaker, because I think the Bridgestone's aiming more for qualifying, and the Bridgestone guys are getting ahead of us in qualifying, and in the race we're much quicker, but we got to overtake them. But it makes for great racing, but it's hard work.
David, the look on your face kind of says it all. That stop-go penalty cost you dear.
Yeah, at the moment I'm not sure whether it was on the way into the pit lane or the way out. I was very surprised when I got the call, but you know, obviously I did speed, so you have to pay the penalty.
The gap to Michael obviously getting a bit bigger now. Is the job still achievable though?
Yeah, I think that all we can do is wait to the end of the season and review where things are, rather than trying to guess what's happening during the course of the season. You know, it's entirely feasible he could not finish a few races.
And it's entirely feasible that you could do well at Silverstone too, because that's always been a good race for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, we've won the last couple of years, and it'd be great to have a win in home soil again this year.
Just confirming the result for you then, another 10 out of 10 for Michael Schumacher. Ralph seemingly quite content with that second place. Barrichello doing really well to get on the podium after where he started. Coulthard, 3 points his return from Manicourt. Trulli getting Jordan's first point since Barcelona back in April, and another point for Sauber from Nick Heidfeld. And that means Michael Schumacher is now a massive 31 clear of David Coulthard. Ralf Schumacher overtaking Barrichello. Montoya led the race but failed to finish for the 8th time this season. And Ferrari now with a massive 52 points lead in the constructors, on course for a win double. 6 more points for Williams in 3rd. Heidfeld getting that point for Sauber, and Trulli a welcome couple for Jordan. Well, Tony Jardine, it all went wrong for McLaren even before the race.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm wondering, Jim, whether there's a link between what happened to Häkkinen on the grid and what potentially happened to David Coulthard in terms of perhaps the software not working on the speed limiter. Look, here's Häkkinen. He was stuck on the grid in Brazil. He was stuck on the grid in Austria. His clutch went when he was leading in Spain. What terrible, terrible bad luck for Mika Häkkinen. Just 9 points. But it's the software that switched the engine off of David Coulthard at Monte Carlo as well. And we're just trying to work out, along with Coulthard, whether that affected his speed limiter, which got him a 10-second penalty.
Yeah, I think in commentary, Martin Brundle described what happened to McLaren as trivial, but it's very, very serious in terms of Coulthard's World Championship quest.
It's painful for Ron Dennis. It's painful for all the people at McLaren who are watching that, and it's a real uphill struggle. It's not outside the realms of possibility. Of course they're going to work hard and keep their heads down and hopefully win at the British Grand Prix, but it's far from trivial, you know, and it's so complex, the software systems of Grand Prix cars.
But speeding in the pits, I mean, how can that really happen?
Well, all that can happen is that the driver potentially, and this was the pit stop at the time, they were all going on, and David was briefly in the lead at this point, lap 27, 9.1 seconds, thinking all was well, no problem. Did he put the pit lane limiter button on early enough when he crossed the line, or did he take it off before he reached the white line at the end? Now, the light normally flashes on the back with the little fuel flap up as well, which signifies that the pit lane limiter is on. And we didn't see it flashing as he went out there. So was there a problem with the electrics of the car? And this means that he came in just 3 laps later for the stop-go. Groans all over United Kingdom. A lot of the fans over here in France watching as well, because it means he's got an even tougher battle. But out David goes, and there's only one race this year, that was Canada where engine went, where he hasn't scored, you know, points, the same as Michael Schumacher, who went out in San Marino with brake problems. He nearly got 3rd place, and you know, he just keeps battling away, David Coulthard, so you can't discount him.
Right, so consistent, but he nearly did need a few more today. Driver of the race from your point of view, though, Eddie Irvine.
Tremendous, because he's had that 3rd place in Monte Carlo. His tail is up. He knows this car is getting better and better. Here he is chasing Olivier Panis for 9th place, and every place counts, but so neatly inside at the Lycée there, which is the last corner before you go back onto the pit straight, and just slots in beautifully. And here on Heinz-Harald Frentzen, this was for 8th place, so he's going the right way. He's getting up the order and heading towards the points. And then this happens, unfortunately, with the Jaguar Cosworth engine. We actually saw flames coming out of the inlet there of the big air scoop just above his head, which is a great shame, but a lot of promise for Jaguar.
But we have to say to his former teammate Michael Schumacher, we are not worthy.
Tremendous. We're in the middle of a Ferrari era, and a tremendous role. You know, Alain Prost has won this event 6 times. This man here, Michael Schumacher, has now won it 5 times, 94, 95, 97, 98. But 50 Grand Prix wins, that is some feat, and puts him just 1 behind the great Alain Prost himself. And quite rightly, the team giving him the big hugs here. He is, you know, the best in the world. He deserves to be on that top step, and there's the jump that signifies it all. And as James was saying in the commentary, you know, he really enjoys his wins, and we love watching him win.
Do you think he's going to make it 51, equal Alain Prost record finally at Silverstone?
No, my money's on David Coulthard to do it there, and get the triple, the first man since Jim Clark to do that.
Tony, thank you very much indeed. So it is indeed next stop Silverstone. It's always a very big weekend for us. I understand there are still a few tickets available, by the way. Watch the qualifying here from 12:30 on ITV. Our build-up starts at midday on the Sunday. Highlights 11:15 Sunday night, and that programme repeated ITV2, 7 o'clock on the Monday. World title, a very long shot now for David Coulthard. The book is all set to close the book on Michael Schumacher. But that Silverstone hat-trick, well, be ample compensation. Good night.
If you'd like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by Foster's is www.itv-f1.com.
Says he's a great enthusiast for greater integration across Europe, so we will be seeing them pushing in that direction. He's already talked about turning the Council of Ministers of the different European countries into a sort of second chamber of the European Parliament, having an elected European Commission. It's all that old integrationist stuff. The Belgians are also talking, their Finance Minister Didier Reynders, about harmonising European taxes. Scandinavians are going to run a